The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1476 Reinforcement. The battle was in full swing at the front. In a mechanical starship not far away, the two clones of King Kong and Tong Lai were chatting in a relaxed manner. They were proud of their status and believed that humans were inferior creatures and were unwilling to fight in person. Is this the human who is the overlord of the galaxy? It is said that there is still blood of ancient humans in their bodies. Compared with ancient humans, they are so far behind. Tong Lai, you don't know. They do have the blood of ancient humans. However, the ancient humans offended a powerful race back then. Not only was the race exterminated, but even their genes were shackled. It was very miserable. The ancient humans were also powerful. Although they were exterminated, they still had a backup plan. They set up a galaxy barrier in the Milky Way and took great pains to sow seeds on a remote planet called Earth, which saved the fire of life. However, so many years have been wasted because of this. Even for celestial beings, technology is constantly improving. Ancient humans used to be strong. But now, haha. King Kong and Tong Lai were communicating, talking about some secrets about ancient humans, with disdain on their faces. Boom. Golden, red, silver, blue, 4 holy beast mechas flashed 4 different lights, rushing to the forefront of the battlefield. The most conspicuous, Xia Xingchen broke into the enemy's formation alone and was surrounded by the battle robots flying out of the starship. 4 holy beast mechas, holding 4 spiral spears of different colors and attributes, stabbed out like a storm, leaving countless after images in the starry sky. Dragon Fang joint attack. Xia Xingchen shouted, and the 4 mechas stabbed out with their spears at the same time. The 4 rays of light twisted into a huge drill, breaking a starship in the middle. Boom. The starship was hit by the drill in the energy furnace, and a huge explosion occurred. The shockwave spread, and the flames shot up into the sky, just like a doomsday meteorite attack, shaking the world. At the moment the starship exploded, 2 robots flew out, tall and shining with golden light. They are not ordinary battle robots, but like King Kong, they are artificial intelligences that have awakened wisdom. Their intelligence level is not enough. They are not celestial beings. Nominally they are King Kong's subordinates, and they are also the commanders of the starship. Their strength is around the star level, and they are not weak hands. This human named Xia Xingchen is too terrifying. With the power of one person, he actually destroyed the starship. The 2 starship commanders retreated and communicated. Whoosh. 4 holy beast mechas flashed and turned into streams of light and flew over, blocking the way of the 2 artificial intelligences. Xia Xingchen himself took action, driving the white tiger mecha, and hundreds of metal tigers condensed behind him. They were not phantoms, but flashing golden light, real metal. You dare to kill us? King Kong leader will never let you go. The starship commander felt a powerful force erupting from Xia Xingchen's body and hurriedly fought, holding a huge silver shield. This shield is made of a special alloy, which is very expensive on the Universal Civilization Network and can withstand most attacks. Clang. Xia Xingchen's body erupted with unparalleled power, and the tigers in the sky roared and hit with all their strength. Boom. The metal tiger fell on the shield and immediately caused a huge explosion, as if a supernova exploded. Energy raged out, and the metal shield was instantly melted into liquid. Boom. The residual energy slammed into the 2 commanders, and their bodies emitted a transparent red light. The internal circuits were instantly burned, and they exploded from the inside, and the parts scattered. In actual combat, the white tiger mecha showed an unusually powerful combat power. The 4 saints gathered together, and the world is invincible. This sentence is not an exaggeration. Xia Xingchen did not stay for too long. After killing the 2 commanders, he immediately flew towards another starship and fought with the battle robots like a tide. The battle robots also have wisdom, but their wisdom is very low. They only know how to fight and don't know what death is. On the battlefield, the enemy without fear is the most terrifying. The spiral spears in the hands of the 4 holy beast mechas kept sweeping, and the energy brilliance flashed on the tips of the spears, which kept expanding and exploding, submerging one piece of battle robots after another. The robot's body continued to explode, turning into pieces of debris, burning, falling on the surface of the Aranda continent like a rain of fire, smashing many craters. So difficult. Xia Xingchen's mental power is vast, but facing the almost endless, constantly surging combat robots, he is also a little irritated. Human wave tactics. This is the horror of the mechanical race. The individual combat power of the celestial beings of other races is not strong. However, the mechanical race is different. Once on Lubenstar, the strength of the artificial intelligence Athena was far inferior to that of the celestial beings. With her own strength, she occupied Lubenstar and even destroyed a complete fleet of the Galactic Empire. In the end, if Carlos had not taken action to subdue Athena, the consequences would be disastrous. As long as there are enough resources, even a mechanical celestial being can create an endless army of robots. This is why Xia Xingchen is eager to stop the mechanical King Kong. The endless star abyss is very desolate, with scarce resources, and even planets are rare. Even so, the mechanical King Kong still uses limited resources to create a terrifying fleet. If the mechanical King Kong is allowed to enter a rich starfield, such as the Chaos Starfield, then, in a very short time, he can use these resources to create an invincible robot army. Destroying the galaxy and exterminating the human race is not a joke. The mechanical King Kong hates carbon-based life. Not only humans, but all life in the galaxy. He will kill it and turn this galaxy into a dead zone. Leader, there are too many enemies. We can't resist. The energy of the mecha is running out. The nuclear fuel rods must be replaced. It's not a good idea to fight like this. Even if the energy is enough, the mental strength is at its lowest. Elders kept sending battle reports, asking Xia Xingchen to temporarily withdraw. The battle was not long, but it was very tragic. Many people in the alliance died, and those who survived were also covered in wounds. The enemy is too strong. Even Xia Xingchen felt it was difficult. It's not just technology, but also strength. The gap in military strength is also very large. The mecha divisions of the Ascendant Alliance are all legendary powerhouses, representing the strongest combat power of mankind. However, there are too few of them. But we can't retreat now. Once we retreat, the enemy will rush over. When the time comes, the battle line will collapse, which will be even more tragic. Xia Xingchen ordered. What should we do? Only fight to the death. An elder was stunned. Wait for reinforcement. The reinforcement will be here soon. Xia Xingchen was confident. Reinforcement? The elder looked confused. This is a desolate and boundless star abyss. Even if you are the Imperial Star Marquis and have the power to mobilize the Imperial Starship Army, it will take a lot of time. Where will the reinforcement come from? Trust me, the reinforcement have arrived. Xia Xingchen looked down at the Aranda continent floating in the starry sky. Deep in the continent, countless huge black shadows were ready to move, stepping out from the abyss. Chapter 1477. The lips and teeth are cold. Boom. 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 The deafening footsteps sounded, and the Aranda continent was shaking. From the deepest abyss of the continent, hundreds of huge figures with a height of thousands of meters staggered out. Above the Aranda continent, the human mecha masters saw these figures, and their pupils shrank one by one, and their faces were full of shock. Zerg. It's the Star Devourer. Such a huge body exudes a terrifying power. Queen. Hundreds of Star Devourer queens. Some strong men couldn't help but shout. The reinforcement that Xia Xingchen mentioned turned out to be hundreds of Star Devourer queens. They are all above the star level, and even close to the existence of quasi-celestial beings. The individual combat power of the Star Devourer Queen is indeed powerful, but it is not enough to shock people. Each Star Devourer Queen represents a tribe. There are hundreds of king insects, thousands of male insects, and countless worker insects in the tribe. The endless sea of insects is the horror of the Star Devourer. Sir, are these Zergs the reinforcement you mentioned? Will they really help us? If they are not of our race, their hearts must be different. An elder looked at the Zerg army on the ground with a face full of fear, and his heart trembled. How could a Star Devourer help us? My hands are stained with the blood of Star Devourers. Me too. I have hunted tens of thousands of star devourers and killed the king bug. I'm afraid they are here with bad intentions. These bugs are not reinforcement at all, but they want to sneak attack us from behind while we are suppressed by the mechanoids. The mecha masters in the sky were also all in a panic. Iranda continent is one of the main battlefields for the Ascendant Alliance to hunt. Every human mecha master has hunted star devourers. Among them, Xia Xingchen is naturally included. He is more ruthless than ordinary mecha masters, slaughtering tens of thousands of Zerg and plundering insect crystals. For hundreds of years, the Ascendant Alliance has been hunting star devourers on Iranda continent, seizing insect crystals and insect corpses to satisfy the appetite of the Kaldoroi. This is a blood feud that cannot be resolved. None of the mecha masters present believed that these Zergs would give up their previous hatred and help themselves resist the mechanical army. Even if Xia Xingchen was called the man of miracles and triggered one miracle after another, he must have miscalculated this time. Hatred is the most stubborn emotion in the universe. You actually called these Zergs out? On the mechanical starship, the eyes of the mechanical Khan flashed red, and his expression could not help but be a little panic. If these star-eating queens led the sea of Zergs into battle, then the already clear situation of the war might change again. Zergs are lower creatures than humans. They only know how to kill, destroy, devour, and reproduce, but their individuals are very strong. It's really difficult. However, can the human named Xia Xingchen really let the Zerg help him? I don't believe it. Tonglai watched from the side and laughed coldly. That's right, maybe these Zerg armies are attacking humans from behind. The mechanical Kang also laughed. Boom. The Zerg army walked out of the abyss and stopped hundreds of kilometers away from the battlefield. They seemed to be watching and were not prepared to join the battle. Ha ha ha. What did I say? Zerg is Zerg. Humans actually want Zerg to help. Too naive. Mechanical King Kong laughed loudly. Xia Xingchen's expression also condensed slightly, and he contacted Xiaobei through his soul. Xiaobei, what's the situation? Why did the Zerg army stop? At this moment, Xiaobei looked like a petite human girl, standing on the head of a huge and old star-devouring queen. The Zerg were hiding in the abyss, and they were willing to send troops. It was Xia Xingchen who asked Xiaobei to go deep into the depths of the Iranda continent and persuade other queens to form a temporary alliance. Queen Ante, the battlefield is coming, and the enemy is in front. Why did you stop? Xiaobei looked anxious and shouted to the star-devouring queen under his feet. The Zerg queens formed a temporary alliance. Queen Antaeus had the longest lifespan, so she was elected as the leader. It was she who issued the order to stop the Zerg army. Queen Vera, of course I saw the fierce alien invaders. Queen Antaeus said slowly. Then why don't you fight? Xiaobei was anxious. You should have heard that these alien invaders came with destruction and have destroyed all the planets along the way. Iranda continent is their next target. Of course I know. But the alien destroyers are of course fierce. But humans are not much better than them. Queen Antaeus shook her huge head. The other Star Devourer queens also nodded gently. For hundreds of years, humans have been invading Iranda continent. Every Star Devourer colony has been slaughtered and looted by human mechas. For Star Devourers, humans are also invaders. Xiaobei, I told it in person. Xia Xingchen said. My master, you come and convince them. Xiaobei nodded quickly, his blue eyes emitting light, which condensed into Xia Xingchen's face in the air. Respected Queen Ante, and other queens. I'm Xia Xingchen, the leader of the Ascendant Alliance. Xia Xingchen was respectful and bowed slightly. You are the leader of that group of human mecha divisions? So young? The Zerg queens also saw Xia Xingchen for the first time, and they were all shocked. Just now I heard that you are doubting us humans. Xia Xingchen smiled faintly. Please answer a question. We humans have spaceships that can fly to any starfield. We can also return to the territory of the Galactic Empire. Why should I choose this place as a battlefield to fight against the terrifying alien invaders? The Zerg queens were very intelligent, but when they heard Xia Xingchen's question, they all shook their heads and looked puzzled. I'm protecting the Iranda continent. I'm protecting you. If I lead the army to leave now, the guns of the alien invaders will immediately turn to you. Excuse me, who among you is confident that you can survive? Xia Xingchen continued. The queens were speechless. They all knew that what Xia Xingchen said was the truth. They could feel the hatred of the mechanical race. It was not just directed at humans or Zerg. It was hatred directed at all non-mechanical life. If the human army withdraws, then the Iranda continent will be turned into cosmic dust in an extreme time, just like other planets passed by the mechanical race's starship army. We humans have a saying, lips and teeth are cold. We are now grasshoppers on the same line. Besides, we humans can still retreat. The Milky Way is big. We still have a way out. But you can't. The flames of war from alien invaders have burned to the Iranda continent and have burned to your homes. What are you waiting for? Waiting for the enemy's Star Destroyer to destroy the Iranda continent? Come on. Fight. Let's join forces to resist the invasion together. Resist the enemy together. Xia Xingchen's expression was very excited, his eyes burning with raging flames of war, waving his right hand, and said in a deep voice. Chapter 1478, The Battle Turns Around. Indeed, humans can retreat, but we can't. If humans are defeated and withdraw, we will be the first to suffer. Although humans are hateful, they have not been able to conquer the Iranda continent for hundreds of years. The alien invaders have terrifying weapons and are much more powerful than humans. Fight. Help humans and go to war with the alien invaders. Xia Xingchen's words were very inflammatory, and the Zerg queens were immediately shaken. They knew in their hearts that what Xia Xingchen said was the truth. Don't panic. Queen Ante was also tempted, but she thought more deeply and would not easily believe humans. Xia Xingchen, you are the leader of the human army. It's not impossible for us Zerg to fight. Otherwise, we would not have walked out of the abyss and come to the battlefield. But, I really can't believe humans. I need a guarantee. An oath you swear in person. Queen Ante said. Swear? Xia Xingchen laughed immediately. If oaths were useful, there wouldn't be so many wars in the universe. Of course oaths are useless. But if you swear in front of your subordinates and go back on your word, how will your subordinates look at you? Queen Ante sighed. She actually knew that most humans were untrustworthy, but it was limited to ordinary humans. The higher the status of humans, the more they valued their promises. In human terms, it is called a gentleman's word is as good as a horse's. Okay, what oath? Xia Xingchen nodded and asked. After this battle, no matter what the result is, humans can no longer invade the Iranda continent. Humans and Zerg will cease fire indefinitely. Queen Ante said. Indefinite ceasefire? A temporary ceasefire is not enough, and you actually want a permanent ceasefire? Impossible. The Alliance needs a lot of Zerg crystals. For hundreds of years, the Alliance has been plundering the Iranda continent. Lord Xia Xingchen will never agree to it. The Mecha Master shook their heads one by one, thinking that the Zerg's request was too much. Plundering the Iranda continent is a basic policy that the Ascendant Alliance has set nearly 100 years ago, and Xia Xingchen cannot change it. I promise. Xia Xingchen smiled faintly, agreed directly, and swore that the Ascendant Alliance would no longer invade the Iranda continent. This surprised everyone. They didn't know that the Ascendant Alliance had been issuing missions to plunder the Iranda continent because the Kaldori needed a large amount of insect crystals and insect corpses as food to fill their stomachs. Once the Kaldori died, the insect crystals and insect corpses lost their original functions, and plundering the Iranda continent also lost its original meaning. Xia Xingchen originally planned to slowly stop the relevant tasks of the Iranda continent. The request made by Queen Mother Ante coincided with Xia Xingchen's wishes, which was just right for him to go with the flow. You are indeed the leader of mankind. You have courage. When Queen Ante saw Xia Xingchen swearing, she was overjoyed. A strong mental wave spread and enveloped the entire Iranda continent. Zerg warriors, let us help humans resist alien invaders. But the carapaces behind countless Zerg warriors opened, revealing thin membrane wings, and they vibrated one after another, covering the sky like dark clouds, and rushing to the sky. The human army is fighting a desperate battle with the mechanical army. The energy of the mecha is exhausted, and the mental power is on the verge of exhaustion. The situation is very critical. Gal, Debbie, Nia and other strong men are all besieged by more than a dozen combat robots, and they are all injured. The Zerg army joined the battle and resisted the attack of the mechanical clan, which suddenly relieved the pressure on humans. Replace the nuclear fuel rods. Take mental supplements. The Zerg can't hold on for too long, and the rest time is very limited. An elder shouted. Lord Xia Xingchen, you really convinced the Zerg. It's another miracle. We can win. We will definitely win. Hurry up and recover. I can't wait to kill the bastards of the mechanical race. With the addition of strong reinforcement, the human warriors were all excited. The originally one-sided battle became tense again. In fact, the coalition of humans and Zerg is slowly gaining the upper hand. This is the Aranda continent, the home of the star-eating insects. Most of the Zerg have low IQs, but they also know that this battle is for their homeland. The fighting power is high, and they fight to the death. In the sky, the corpses of the Zerg fell like raindrops, and the ground was full of green sticky blood. Among the Zerg corpses, there are also many parts and fragments of the mechanical race. The losses of the mechanical race are huge. Oh no, the endless star abyss is too desolate. I didn't seize enough resources. These starships and robots are all brought in from outside the domain, and there are not many. If we continue to consume like this, we may lose. After calculation, the mechanical King Kong found that the situation was not optimistic. The number of Zerg hiding on the Aranda continent was beyond its expectation. The most important thing was that hundreds of Zerg queens did not directly participate in the battle, but began to hatch eggs on the spot. Countless Zerg warriors continued to break out of their shells, almost endless. Fighting the infinite with the finite, how can you not lose? The key is the hateful humans. King Kong's eyes fell on the battlefield. The human mecha divisions have changed their tactics, hiding behind the Zerg warriors, using long-range energy weapons, and constantly bombarding the combat robots. If the combat robots chase, the mecha divisions will immediately retreat, and the Zerg warriors will immediately rush forward without hesitation and block in front of the mecha divisions. If it were just humans, or Zerg, King Kong would be sure to win. But humans and Zerg joined forces. These two completely different races, after hundreds of years of war, understand each other's tactics and cooperate perfectly. Xia Xingchen. Everything is Xia Xingchen. King Kong finally couldn't sit still. He knew that the person who caused the change in the battle situation was Xia Xingchen, who had always ruined his good deeds. Catch the leader first. As long as we kill Xia Xingchen, there will be a chance. King Kong was very anxious. He opened the hatch of the starship and prepared to fly out to fight Xia Xingchen. Brother King Kong, be patient. I will meet this powerful human. Tong Lai stopped King Kong with a smile on his face and wanted to fight for him. You want to fight? That's great. King Kong was delighted. He was good at calculating and commanding the army to fight, while Tong Lai was good at fighting alone. Moreover, although Tong Lai's clone was not as powerful as himself, he was extremely good at fighting. With Tong Lai, Xia Xingchen will definitely be killed, and the situation will be reversed. Whoosh! Tong Lai turned into a purple light and rushed into the center of the battlefield. Boom! With him as the center, a huge explosion occurred, and countless purple light beams shot out, with terrifying energy. In an instant, tens of thousands of Zerg warriors turned into ashes in the explosion. Fortunately, the human mecha division was far away from the center of the battlefield and immediately retreated when they found the energy reaction, so the damage was not serious. In the center of the battlefield, a large vacuum zone appeared. No matter if it was humans, Zerg, or combat robots, they were all melted and evaporated by the high energy. Here, there was only a robot figure emitting purple light. It was not tall, about 10 meters, not much different from an ordinary mecha, but it emitted terrifying energy fluctuations. Xia Xingchen, I have cleaned up the battlefield for you. Come, I will show you how miserable it is to disobey the will of heaven. Tong Lai looked disdainful and hooked his finger at Xia Xingchen in the sky not far away. Chapter 1479 Crazy Fight. Tong Lai cleared the field with one blow, revealing a powerful force. Everyone was trembling as they watched this cruel celestial clone with purple light all over his body. Come on. Xia Xingchen. I, the celestial being Tong Lai, have come down to challenge you in person. Tong Lai stood in the center of the battlefield, extremely arrogant, pointing at Xia Xingchen's nose and shouting loudly. Who are you? The war between me and you, the mechanical King Kong, has nothing to do with you. Xia Xingchen's face was cold, and he suddenly opened his mouth, and he actually cursed Tong Lai mercilessly. You dare to insult the celestial being? Xia Xingchen is really brave. All the human mecha masters were amazed, and looked at Xia Xingchen, who was cursing in disbelief, which was completely different from his usual calm and wise appearance. Well cursed. You bastards of the mechanical race. You deserve to be cursed. The members of the glory team and those who were familiar with Xia Xingchen all applauded. Tong Lai was extremely arrogant, and he shouted in front of the two armies that he wanted to fight Xia Xingchen in a one-on-one duel. However, he was scolded by Xia Xingchen, but he had no way to refute it, because what Xia Xingchen said was right. This war itself had nothing to do with him looking for death. Tong Lai was furious. Human, you are so sharp-tongued. Not to mention you, even your ancestors, the ancient humans, were wiped out by our celestial beings. Are you crazy? Wait, I will make you cry. Tong Lai. King Kong suddenly said, why are you saying these? It is forbidden to mention the ancient humans, including the war that took place in the distant past. No celestial being can mention it. Tong Lai also knew that he had said something wrong in his anger, and explained, this is the Milky Way. No matter how many eyes and ears that race has, cannot penetrate the galactic barrier of the Milky Way. I won't say it again in the future. The conversation between Tong Lai and King Kong fell into Xia Xingchen's ears. He immediately realized that the two mechanical races knew many secrets about the ancient humans. Once, the ancient humans were one of the most powerful celestial races. In a great war, the ancient humans were exterminated. Fortunately, there were powerful people among the ancient humans. Before the crisis came, they arranged a sowing plan to spread the race of life in the Milky Way. In the end, only the human race on Earth blossomed and bore fruit. Xia Xingchen learned from the Universal Civilization Network that the ancient humans were not completely extinct. There were still remnants on some planets, but they were very weak and bullied and humiliated by other celestial races. A high-ranking race fell into the dust one day. This taste is not good. After Xia Xingchen entered the legend, he unlocked part of the gene lock and awakened the distant memories left in the genes of the ancient humans. Among these memories, there are skills, technology, and damaged star maps. There are more prosperous planetary cities of ancient humans, warships, and spacecrafts sweeping across the universe, and countless celestial races are frightened. Xia Xingchen also marveled at the power of his ancestors. However, why was such a powerful race exterminated by the Celestials? This question weighed heavily on Xia Xingchen's heart, and he couldn't let it go for a long time. Maybe I can find the answer I want from these two mechanical celestial beings. Xia Xingchen's eyes condensed, and he drove 4 sacred beast mechas out of the battle formation, and came to Tong Lai. Die. Tong Lai's fist flashed with a terrifying purple light, and it seemed that Xia Xingchen was blasting over. Xia Xingchen's pupils suddenly shrank, but he was not afraid. The 4 sacred beast mechas dispersed, with the black tortoise mecha in front, the blue dragon mecha and the red bird mecha on the flanks, and the white tiger mecha in the back. The mechas condensed 4 spiral spears of different colors in their hands, and also blasted over. Boom. The 5 figures collided with each other, causing a huge explosion, like a star exploding. The light was dazzling, covering the entire battlefield. In an instant, the two sides fought countless times. The brave wins when they meet on a narrow road. There is terrifying energy behind these two people, and no one is willing to retreat. The energy beams are constantly bombarded, and the momentum exceeds the confrontation between the two armies, and the space is wailing. The armies of both sides even forgot to fight for a moment. Everyone was horrified as they watched Xia Xingchen and Tong Lai fight. One after another, balls of light appeared in the air and connected into one. The scene was extremely terrifying. Swish. The speed of both sides was incredibly fast. 5 figures chased each other in the void like lightning, constantly colliding, causing huge explosions and mushroom clouds. It was like the end of the world. The Aranda continent was shaking, and the residual energy that escaped was making the earth riddled with holes. The mountains were full of scars, and were still burning with raging flames. In a blink of an eye, the two sides fought for thousands of rounds. Everyone held their breath. and watched their fight. No one among them could intervene in a battle of this level. Some of the elders whispered, has Lord Kaldori gradually adapted to this body? He is obviously at the planetary level. Why is his combat power so terrifying? Lord Kaldori is the strongest being in the universe. An elder sneered. A small mechanical race will be crushed into dust by the power of the adults. More than half of the 14 elders of the Ascendant Alliance began to doubt Xia Xingchen. It was not because Xia Xingchen had revealed any flaws. It was because the elders were all wise men, the best among men, and their sixth sense was sharp, and they noticed that Xia Xingchen was subtly different from Kaldori. And now, all the elders' doubts were dispelled. Because only Kaldori had such a strong combat power. Boom. A figure flew backwards from the light curtain. It was Copper Crack covered with purple light. At this moment, Copper Crack was covered with wounds and looked very miserable. Even his left arm was cut off, revealing the circuit inside which was flashing with electric sparks. The mechanical celestial being is nothing more than that. Xia Xingchen looked at Tong Lai coldly, standing in the void, and did not continue to pursue. After the fierce battle just now, Xia Xingchen has already figured out Tong Lai's strength. Tong Lai's individual combat power is at the peak of the star level, not yet a quasi-celestial being, and even weaker than hell is possessed by the thousand brain worm. Xia Xingchen has taken countless starry sky secret treasures, and the 4 holy beast mechas have also been gathered. The combat power has reached the peak state, and it is no longer the same as before. How is it possible? Why is your energy so strong? Tong Lai exclaimed. No, my energy is too weak. It is the hateful galaxy law that suppresses my energy. My energy cannot be transmitted over. I have encountered a bottleneck. Like the Lost World, the Milky Way also has its own galaxy laws. One of the laws is that no one above the celestial being can enter. In the past, Carlos had feelings with the help of Xia Xingchen, and got the opportunity to become a celestial being. Due to the laws of the Milky Way, his strength was suppressed, and could not be improved at all. So, Carlos had no choice but to leave. Although the mechanical celestial beings are powerful, their main bodies cannot enter, and the energy transmission of their clones is also suppressed. They want to rely on their technological level and the army of robots to crush the Zergant humans, but they are defeated by the Zergant human coalition forces. Chapter 1480 Under the Heavens. We are all ants. You are no match for me. Hand over your memory. Then go back to the celestial realm with the mechanical King Kong. I can consider sparing your clone's life. Xia Xingchen spoke in a sharp tone, openly forcing the celestial realm, so strong that it was unbelievable. Tong Lai's face suddenly darkened, and the purple light on his body flickered. He has the self-esteem of a celestial realm, extremely arrogant, and despises most races in the universe, especially the Milky Way. In his eyes it is an ant nest, and humans are just insects. Tong Lai came for destruction. He should have destroyed everything, led the mechanical army, and exterminated humans in a short time. But now, he was stopped by Xia Xingchen, before he even approached the planet where humans live, and was humiliated like this. Human. How dare you say such arrogant words? You want my memory? Come on, with your ability, I want to see how you can kill me. Tong Lai's words were cold. For a moment, the purple light on Tong Lai's body was strong, and the energy fluctuations were strengthened again. Thunderstorms sounded from the inside of his body, and a gorgeous halo appeared around his body. This was a strange phenomenon that appeared in the high energy vibration space. Memory is equivalent to the brain of the mechanical race, which is very important to the mechanical race. As long as the memory is not destroyed, it doesn't matter if the mechanical race's body is destroyed. Just spend some energy units to buy a new clone. Once the memory is destroyed, although some high-level celestial beings have memory backups, most of their memories will still be lost. Memory is not particularly important for carbon-based creatures such as humans. However, the mechanical race is different. Only when the mechanical race understands emotions can they be promoted to celestial beings. The carrier of their emotions is the memory. Once the memory is lost or damaged, the memory is lost, and the emotions are lost at the same time, and it is possible to fall from the celestial realm. The law of the jungle is the law of the universe, and the celestial realm has developed this law to the extreme. Once Tong Lai and King Kong fall from the celestial realm, they will be no different from ordinary artificial intelligence such as the Starship Commander. They will be enslaved by other mechanical celestial beings and consumed as cannon fodder. Under the Heavenly Man, or Lawrence, Xia Xingchen asked for the memory, and this sentence was like a sharp sword, piercing Tong Lai's heart. How could Tong Lai not be angry? Kill! Xia Xingchen shouted. He had just fought with Tong Lai to find out the details. Now that the enemy's situation has been figured out, he has no scruples. At this moment, with the fascinating brilliance flashing in Xia Xingchen's black eyes, countless metal tigers condensed around the white tiger mecha, majestically rushing towards Tong Lai. Spiritual power condensed into a physical entity? I have seen this move. It is Xia Xingchen's trump card. Finally, it is going to kill the Heavenly Man. Countless spectators exclaimed, feeling the terrifying energy emanating from the metal tigers, and they were all excited. The mysterious power of mental power. But, after all, it is also a kind of energy. Tong Lai sneered. The biggest weakness of the mechanical races, that they cannot possess mental power. On the Universal Civilization Network, this shortcoming of the mechanical race is often ridiculed by other heavenly races, who think that the mechanical race is a defective product. Therefore, the mechanical race is extremely hostile to races with spiritual power. In the world of heaven and man, the mechanical race is bound by rules, and can only behave themselves, not daring to attack. However, in the Milky Way outside the world of heaven and man, the mechanical race vents their anger wantonly, slaughters lives, and exterminates races and species. Trapped beast. The group of metal tigers instantly arrived in front of Tongkrak. Xia Xingchen watched from a distance, put his hands together, and shouted suddenly. The vast and boundless spiritual power vented from Xia Xingchen's brain, and after being transformed by the white tiger mecha, it condensed into a solid in the void. It was a huge steel cage, trapping the metal tigers and Tongkrak in it. The power of the move swallowing thousands of miles like a tiger is huge, but the weakness is also obvious. That is, the attack speed is too slow, or relying on the metal tigers to fight, and the explosion will be triggered after contact. Although the metal tigers are transformed by spiritual power, they are entities, restricted by the laws of physics, and affected by gravity. Tongkrak's speed is amazingly fast, and he only needs to escape far away, to easily avoid this move. However, Xia Xingchen used his mental power, to condense into a huge iron cage, trapping Tong Lai in it, so that he could not escape, and could only fight with the metal tigers. Boom. A metal tiger rushed to Tong Lai and exploded, causing a huge explosion, with flames rising to the sky and a terrifying momentum. Tong Lai rushed out of the flames, the purple light on his body dimmed, and the metal torso was covered with black marks of burns. He was in a mess and miserable. I'm a celestial being. I was locked in a cage by humans, and fought like a beast. The humans around me were watching the battle, as if they were watching a precious animal. Damn it. Tong Lai roared. He felt insulted and ashamed. Whoosh. Tong Lai turned into a purple light, and rushed towards the railing of the cage. Bang. A starlight appeared on the metal railing, which was a starry sky barrier. It not only absorbed Tong Lai's attack, but also bounced him back. The tigers immediately surrounded him, and exploded around Tong Lai, turning into mushroom clouds, blowing his body to pieces. Oh my god. The mechanical celestial being has already used all his strength, but he is no match for Xia Xingchen. Many people exclaimed, thinking that this scene was very dreamy. Celestial beings are gods in the hearts of many humans. In this battle, the wrong idea, that celestial beings are gods, and cannot be defeated, was shattered by Xia Xingchen's strength. Tong Lai. On the mechanical starship, King Kong saw his companions trapped, and the energy reaction on his body was getting weaker and weaker, and he was shocked. King Kong did not expect that Tong Lai would be completely crushed by Xia Xingchen. King Kong, don't stand by and watch. Come and save me. Tong Lai's body was already in pieces, leaving only his head connected to a part of his chest, and his lower body and limbs were all shattered, completely losing his ability to fight. At this moment, he did not care about the dignity of the celestial being, and screamed for help from King Kong. Tong Lai's fighting ability is better than mine. He is not Xia Xingchen's opponent. I'm not his opponent either. Going up now is just sending him to death in vain. Although the situation was critical, King Kong was hesitant. Go up. King Kong is not his opponent, and he buried this clone in vain. Don't go up. If Tong Lai's clone is destroyed, he will definitely vent his anger on King Kong. Tong Lai has a high status among the mechanical tribe. King Kong doesn't want the friendship he has worked so hard to build to be damaged because of this incident. What should I do? King Kong is in a dilemma. Seeing that Tong Lai is trapped in a group of metal tigers, with tiger claws sweeping across, and sharp tiger teeth biting on his body, and he is about to die, King Kong finally clenched his fist, and made up his mind. Take action. I must take action. Not only take action, but also win. I must kill Xia Xingchen. At any cost. King Kong slowly raised his hand, and a silver metal sphere slowly rotated in his palm. There were countless fine energy lines engraved on it, which looked very mysterious. King Kong finally couldn't help it, and wanted to take action himself. Chapter 1481, Heaven and Man are hard to destroy. That metal sphere is a rare secret treasure of the starry sky. Aang Leo hid in the crystal pyramid, watching the battle between Xia Xingchen and Tong Lai with interest. Suddenly, he felt a high energy reaction, raised his head, and looked in the direction of King Kong, and his face suddenly changed. Secret treasure of the starry sky? Is it an offensive weapon? What's the use? Xia Xingchen was able to chat with Aang Leo, which showed that he did not fight Tong Lai with all his strength. In fact, Xia Xingchen could have killed Tong Lai a long time ago. But he kept letting Tong Lai go, playing cat and mouse, and letting Tong Lai survive. The reason is very simple. Xia Xingchen wanted to use Tong Lai to lure out King Kong behind him. King Kong is the mastermind behind the scenes. Tong Lai is at best an accomplice. Xia Xingchen has no confidence that he can kill King Kong. It is difficult to destroy a celestial being, especially the celestial beings of the mechanical race. If you destroy one clone, there is another one. Even if the original body is destroyed, they also have a laboratory on the hidden planet with memory backup, and it will be remade soon. This is also the reason why the mechanical race of celestial beings is not outstanding in the celestial world, but can occupy a place. Even for a celestial race that is more advanced than the mechanical race, it is extremely difficult to completely eliminate a mechanical race of celestial beings. The memory of the mechanical race will not be forgotten unless the memory is destroyed. 100 years, 200 years, 300 years of hatred will be remembered forever. Constantly seeking revenge on enemies. Even if the body is destroyed, I don't know how long it will take. The mechanical race's clone will still come to seek revenge. In terms of difficulty, the mechanical race can be sent to the top 3 among the celestial races. There are many high-level celestial races that will warn the younger generation not to provoke the mechanical race. It's not an attack weapon. It's a descent device. Aang Leo's face changed drastically, and he said in shock, he's crazy. He took out the descending device and wanted the celestial being to descend into the Milky Way. Tong Lai is not Xia Xingchen's opponent, and King Kong's clone is certainly not either. Therefore, King Kong is ready to use the last killer to let the original body descend directly into the Milky Way. Of course, in the process of descending, most of the energy will be lost, and King Kong will not be able to maintain the strength of a celestial being, but only the level of a quasi-celestial being. Quasi-celestial being is enough. King Kong was full of confidence, and the metal ball in his hand shone, and the vast energy was transmitted from the distant celestial world, and injected into the clone. The mechanical race is very special. There is no essential difference between the original body and the clone, only the energy level. Energy is the vitality of the mechanical race. The clone with high energy is the original body. The one with low energy is the clone. Bang! In just a few seconds, the terrifying energy was input into King Kong through the descending device, and the metal ball in his hand also shattered and turned into a pile of silver powder. It feels so good to have power. King Kong laughed, clenched his fists, and blasted it casually. Boom. A huge energy ball flew out and hit a mechanical starship next to it, instantly destroying it, exploding in the air, and falling down as a fireball. For a moment, the faces of human mecha masters showed strange colors, and Xia Xingchen was also surprised. Xia Xingchen could destroy a huge starship with one strike. However, it would take 4 holy beast mechas to join forces and use the dragon teeth strike. King Kong just made a casual strike, but the destructive power was equivalent to the dragon teeth strike. Xia Xingchen looked down at the instrument on the mecha console. The pointer of the energy detector had reached the end of the instrument panel and was still shaking. The energy reaction on King Kong exceeded the measurement range of the instrument panel. Beep, beep, bang. Accompanied by a sharp beep, the energy detector exploded. King Kong, save me. Tong Lai, who was trapped in the metal cage, shouted hurriedly. Boom. King Kong stood in the void, took a step, and arrived in front of the cage. With a light wave of his palm, the metal cage exploded and shattered into starlight, floating down from the air, very dazzling. King Kong waved his hand again, and the metal tigers also shattered one by one, and turned into nothing. Tong Lai, don't panic, I'm here. King Kong smiled slightly, came to Tong Lai, condensed an energy ball in his hand, and pressed it on him. Tong Lai's damaged metal torso radiated light, and healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it returned to normal. Tong Lai's clone contains nanorobots that can repair the body. However, in the battle with Xia Xingchen, Tong Lai's body was shattered again and was constantly repaired, and eventually the energy was exhausted. King Kong transferred part of the energy to Tong Lai, and his clone was immediately repaired as usual. However, Tong Lai's body is still lacking in energy, and he does not have the ability to fight Xia Xingchen. King Kong, kill him and avenge me. Then kill all the creatures present. I'm so embarrassed today. I don't want anyone to know except you. Tong Lai said with gritted teeth. Of course. King Kong smiled and looked at Xia Xingchen. You don't have to tell me. I will also kill every living creature present. Whether it's a human or an insect. Just now, King Kong's casual blow shattered the metal cage and the group of metal tigers. These creations were all transformed by Xia Xingchen's mental power. As they were shattered, Xia Xingchen was also severely injured. His face was as white as gold paper, his mouth was full of blood foam, and blood lines flowed from the corners of his mouth. So strong. Stronger than Hellas in his strongest state. Xia Xingchen's forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat, and he was shocked. Master, the enemy is too strong. I will help you. Xiaobei felt a terrifying pressure from King Kong, and he had turned into an insect form, with his head held high, wanting to help. Back off. You are the link between humans and the Zerg. If you have any accidents, the Star Devourer will definitely change its mind immediately. At the least, they will withdraw their troops. At the worst, they will betray you. Xia Xingchen shouted. He thought very clearly that the reason why the Zerg helped was that Xiaobei made the greatest contribution. Under the current circumstances, Xia Xingchen cannot let Xiaobei take risks, otherwise the human insect coalition may be disbanded. Yes, master. But you. Xiaobei's eyes were filled with tears, and his eyes were full of worry. What should we do? The enemy is strong. Master Xia Xingchen faces it alone, and we can only watch. Everyone in the glory team sighed, hating that they were too weak to intervene in the battle. Even Master Xia Xingchen is powerless against the celestial being. That is a celestial being after all. It is incredible that Master can force the celestial being to such an extent. The 14 elders of the Ascendant Alliance were all shaking their heads. Xia Xingchen, I want you to die. King Kong shouted, and blue light burst out from his whole body. The terrifying energy tide swirled and gathered into a huge vortex, blasting towards Xia Xingchen like a tsunami. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1482, Kill the Celestial Beings. Facing the raging energy frenzy of the mechanical race, Xia Xingchen's face changed drastically, and his mind was agitated. Unable to resist, many spectators were shaking their heads, and they all saw the terrifying power contained in this move of the mechanical King Kong. Although Xia Xingchen was very strong, he could never withstand such a terrifying attack. Even Xia Xingchen himself thought so. During this period of time, Xia Xingchen had been practicing hard, and his mental power level had been raised to the peak of the planetary level. With the help of the high performance of the 4 holy beast mechas, he could fight across levels and even defeat a star level peak powerhouse like Tong Lai. However, this does not mean that Xia Xingchen can also defeat the quasi-celestial being. The gap between the quasi-celestial being and the planetary level is too big, and the energy level is not at the same level. In the Lost World, Xia Xingchen defeated Hellas, first because Xiaobai helped, and second because Hellas was seriously injured in the previous fierce battle. Third, the thousand brain worm parasitized on Hellas's body, and had not yet fully adapted to his body. Of course, the last important point is that Guan Yu sacrificed himself to explode, which broke Hellas's space defense. Otherwise, Xia Xingchen would definitely be killed by Hellas. Due to the galactic laws of the Milky Way, the strength of the celestial beings is suppressed. In this starfield, the quasi-celestial beings are the strongest fighting force. Die. Xia Xingchen. King Kong roared wildly, thinking that he had already won. This is my war, and I didn't want to rely on your strength. Old dying, I'm sorry. I need you to help me again. The opponent is a celestial being, I can't win. Although Xia Xingchen knew that he was not an opponent, he was not panicked, but communicated with the consciousness of the source of faith through his soul to seek help. Haha, Xingchen. You don't need to belittle yourself. You can force the celestial being's clone to such an extent, and even make the celestial being not hesitate to consume a lot of energy and fight in person. It is already a miraculous record. Next, leave it to me. Mechanical celestial being. Humph, it's just an inferior celestial race. You dare to be arrogant in front of me. Old Dying smiled and nodded, and he had a very high opinion of Xia Xingchen. But, a brilliant crystal pyramid floated out from the top of Xia Xingchen's head, flashing with pure light, shrouding him in glory, appearing extremely holy. Xia Xingchen's black pupils became blank, and pure spiritual energy shot out from his eye sockets, and his face was also full of holiness. Xia Xingchen slowly raised his right hand. Swish. A galaxy vortex appeared in front of him, shining with stars, slowly rotating, deep and mysterious. The surging energy tide poured into the center of the galaxy vortex, as if it was absorbed by a black hole, without a single wave. What? Blocked? King Kong was horrified. He never thought that his all-out attack would be easily resolved by Xia Xingchen. Spiritual cage. Xia Xingchen raised his hands and feet without any fireworks, and gently clenched his right hand towards King Kong. But, a cage appeared out of thin air, trapping King Kong in it. It was also a spiritual energy creation, but it was completely different from the trapped beast that Xia Xingchen had used before. The cage of trapped beasts, with the help of the gold characteristics of the white tiger mecha, the mental power condensed into a metal cage. At this moment, the cage that trapped King Kong, the fence was twinkling with stars, like a galaxy across the sky, and it was not made of metal at all. Is this the highest realm of spiritual creation? Xia Xingchen was also shocked. With the help of Ying Lao, his mental power was temporarily raised to the quasi-celestial realm, so he could use this mysterious move. Boom. 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 King Kong was trapped in the cage. He was indignant, and rammed it madly, trying to break out. However, the cage that was twinkling with starlight did not move at all. Strangle. Xia Xingchen hated the mechanical King Kong to the bone. Without any hesitation, the 5 fingers of his right hand, which were originally open, suddenly clenched. Swish. The cage shrank rapidly, turning from a cage into a shackle, firmly on the body of the mechanical King Kong. The shrinking did not stop. The cage continued to shrink, and finally became the size of only an atom. The body of the mechanical King Kong disappeared out of thin air, without even an explosion, completely annihilated. Mechanical Kong, die. What was destroyed was not the clone, but the original body of Mechanical Kong. Somewhere in the world of heaven and man, Mechanical Kong must have a memory backup, which can create a clone again. The clone can be recreated, but the lost energy and memory cannot be restored. Mechanical Kong's original body was destroyed, and he must fall from the realm of heaven and man, becoming an ordinary artificial intelligence, and finally annihilated in the torrent of time. The mechanical race's celestial being is dead. Xia Xingchen killed a celestial being? How is that possible? He is indeed dead. Killing a celestial being. What a brilliant record. It is said that celestial beings are hard to destroy. But he was killed. The human mecha master and the star-devouring worm queen were stunned for a long time before they woke up from the shock, and they all cheered loudly. Seeing that the original body of King Kong was killed, Tonglai stood aside, dumbfounded. If it weren't for the fact that the mechanical race can't dream, Tonglai must have thought that he was in a dream. King Kong is dead. It's too unreal. A dignified mechanical celestial being, full of confidence, conquering the Milky Way, was completely destroyed just after encountering a human spaceship. It's a pity that this move is too powerful. It completely annihilated King Kong's body. Otherwise, we can bring his mechanical clone back to the Star Domain Arc and let the Kong family craftsmen analyze the technology, which will definitely make the Star Domain Arc's technology level advance a big step again. Xia Xingchen couldn't help shaking his head, feeling it was a pity. But, forget it. The celestial being's technology is too terrifying. If King Kong is not dead, the clone can directly break through the firewall of the Star Domain Arc. The risk is too great. What's really a pity is that his memory was also annihilated. There must be secrets about ancient humans in his memory. Xia Xingchen set his eyes on Tonglai and grinned. Fortunately there is still one. What do you want to do? Tonglai was frightened when he saw Xia Xingchen's malicious smile, and he was ready to flee in panic. Swoosh. Xia Xingchen's 3 crystal clones have driven the 3 mechas of Zuanwu, King Lang and Zuke, blocking Tonglai in front of him. The spiral spears in their hands pierced Tonglai's body, hung him on the tip of the spear, and lifted him up high. Human, you dare? Tonglai struggled desperately. Of course I dare. The moment you followed King Kong to invade the Milky Way, your fate was determined. You will definitely die. I know that your original body hidden in the heavenly world can hear my words. Please tell the mechanical race and other heavenly races that are hostile to humans for me. We humans don't like war. We are not afraid of war. You dare to invade the Milky Way again. Then what awaits you will be our warships and mechas. We will use the most fierce artillery fire to welcome the invaders. The end of the mechanical King Kong is an example for invaders. Xia Xingchen's voice was cold, and his eyes were burning with a raging fighting spirit. Swish. 3 spiral spears strangled. Tonglai's body exploded, turned into a fireball, and disappeared. Xia Xingchen stretched out his hand and grabbed in the air. A palm-sized rectangular transparent crystal flew over and landed in his palm. This crystal is the memory of the mechanical race, carrying Tonglai's emotions and memories. Chapter 1483, The dog is eaten after the rabbit dies. Swish. Xia Xingchen put the memory into the portable space. The light in his eyes slowly faded, and after a short rest, he rushed into the starship group of the mechanical race, driving the mecha to fight hard. King Kong and Tonglai, 2 celestial clones, were killed by Xia Xingchen one after another. The starship army of the mechanical race lost its commander, and immediately lost its mind. Kill these mechanical bastards. The moral of the human mecha division and the Zerg warriors also soared. They followed behind Xia Xingchen and rushed to kill with all their strength. In a flash, the defense line of the mechanical race was torn apart, and then there was a total rout. The fierce battle in the starry sky lasted for a full 10 days, and the human and Zerg coalition forces completely cleared the mechanical army above the Aranda continent. However, there are still many mechanical starships and robots escaping to the depths of the boundless star abyss. The Alliance mecha divisions chased and killed them as a team, wanting to catch these remnants in one fell swoop and eliminate the trouble forever. My lord. What an unprecedented victory. All the celestial beings of the mechanical race were killed by Lord Xia Xingchen. If this news spreads to the Empire, I wonder how those Imperial officials who think they are so high above will feel. Ha ha ha. They are probably all shocked. In the huge conference room of Guangming City, 14 elders and the captains of the Alliance team were called together by Xia Xingchen, and they were all discussing happily. Xia Xingchen's face was as gloomy as water, wearing a white robe, sitting on a chair in the middle of the conference room, with a kingly demeanor. My lord, the mechanical race is no longer a threat. We are not as good as them. An elder stepped forward and looked outside the tall walls of Guangming City, where the huge figure of the star-devouring Worm Queen was. In the battle, the star-devouring Worm Queen was behind the front line, but still could not avoid being injured. Several queens were resting and healing outside Guangming City. The elders are right. Now that the war is over, the rabbit is dead and the dog is cooked. It's best to get rid of the Zerg as well, occupy the Aranda continent, and avoid future troubles. A team leader dressed in military uniform also proposed. That's right. Take the opportunity to get rid of the Zerg. If they are not of our race, their hearts must be different. The Zerg cannot be left alive. The captains and the elders had unprecedentedly consistent opinions. They all thought that they should take the opportunity to give the Zerg a blow and strike first. If the Zerg acted, they might turn around and deal with humans. Shut up. Xia Xingchen suddenly scolded. Are you asking me to tear up the covenant and break your promise? My lord. The captains and elders were all startled. Seeing Xia Xingchen angry, they knelt down quickly. Especially the elder who proposed it. He was so scared that he trembled all over, kowtowed hard, and asked Xia Xingchen for forgiveness. Forget it, everyone. Get up. I was the one who lost my temper just now. I know your idea is correct. Xia Xingchen took a breath, calmed down, and glanced at everyone. Xia Xingchen knew very well that the Ascendant Alliance and the devouring starworms of the Aranda continent had been fighting for hundreds of years. It was a feud with the common enemy of the mechanical race. Humans and devouring starworms were able to form an alliance. However, once the common enemy was eliminated, cracks would immediately appear in the fragile alliance, followed by constant conflicts, and finally humans and Zerg would turn against each other. The war would escalate, and a full-scale war would begin. Humans' tens of thousands of years of war experience told Xia Xingchen that this was inevitable. The elders and captains were right. Humans and Zerg could not coexist for a long time. It was just a matter of who would betray first. Even if Xia Xingchen kept his promise and did not betray first, the devouring starworms did not have human moral concepts, and all their actions were based on instinct. Once they sensed the danger brought by humans, they would immediately attack humans. Pass my order. From now on, the Ascendant Generation spacecraft will leave the Aranda continent. All members of the Alliance will enter the depths of the infinite star abyss and hunt down the remnants of the mechanical race. Xia Xingchen knew in his heart that, if he wanted to make peace between humans and devouring starworms, the two sides had to stay away from each other and not have any contact. Besides, the Aranda continent is very desolate and has no resources at all. What's the point of occupying such a place? However, upon hearing Xia Xingchen's order, all the members of the Alliance showed surprise on their faces. My lord? Stay away from the Aranda continent? What about the task of hunting insect crystals? Does the Alliance no longer need insect crystals? A captain stood up, full of confusion. I'll give you 1 month. The Alliance will buy back your inventory of insect crystals at the original price. No waiting after the expiration. Xia Xingchen said. What will we hunt in the future? The insect crystals produced in the Aranda continent account for 80% of the Alliance's points. If we don't hunt star-devouring insects, how can we earn points in the future? The captains were shocked. Mechanical spaceships and combat robots, their energy cores, and complete parts can be exchanged for points. Well, of course there are rare metal minerals. The Alliance will soon issue a new exchange list. Xia Xingchen thought for a while and said, hunting mechanical tribes is also possible. It's more interesting and challenging than hunting insects. I'm tired of drilling around in the dark tunnels underground. The Mecha masters present immediately became interested. As long as they can earn points through hunting, they don't care whether they hunt Zerg or mechanoids. They are a group of absolute battle maniacs. Dismissed. Xia Xingchen announced loudly, leaving all related matters to the elders, and he returned to the Ascendant Generation spaceship to rest. Xingchen, I see that you are worried. Are you thinking about the future of the Alliance? The figure of Ying Leo appeared with a smile on his face. Yes, Ying Leo. Xia Xingchen's attitude was respectful. I'm indeed worried about this matter. Fortunately, I have some clues now. Let me guess. The Mecha divisions of the Ascendant Alliance are the top combat power of mankind. You will take them back to the Galactic Empire and defeat Qin Yun's army. Recapture Xianyuan Star. Ying Leo was excited and stroked his beard. How about it? Did I guess right? Ying Leo. Your words are very tempting. Xia Xingchen showed a bitter smile on his face. But, I can't do this. This generation spaceship and the Mecha divisions of the Alliance can only stay in Wuan Xingyuan. They can't be allowed to return to the Empire. Why? Aang Leo looked confused. Aang Leo is a special existence of pure spiritual body, whose life form is higher than that of human beings, but he often cannot understand human thoughts. Especially Xia Xingchen's thoughts are wild and unrestrained, and Aang Leo has been unable to figure them out, so he is more interested in Xia Xingchen's decision. It's very simple. The Ascendant Alliance is a loose organization with a team system. For so many years, Kaldori has used the meditation room as bait to let human strongmen hunt insect crystals for him. Except for the 14 elders, Kaldori has not brainwashed and controlled the members of the Alliance too much. Everything is an exchange of interests, and we are willing. Xia Xingchen explained. It's not that Kaldori doesn't want to control, but Kaldori knows that human strongmen are unruly and yearn for freedom and will never serve him wholeheartedly. Human hearts are unpredictable. The gods of the Shinran sect have psychic powers and can directly brainwash and control people's hearts, but they still need to use ascension potions to create mutants, and the result is also failure. Compared with the gods, Kaldori is too smart. He understands human hearts too well. Knowing that human strongmen cannot be controlled, he lures them. Let the strongmen serve him. Chapter 1484 Return to the Empire. Xia Xingchen looked at Aang Leo and continued, what will happen if I let the Ascendant Generation spaceship return to the Empire? Aang Leo shook his head. I don't know. You humans have too complicated minds. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly. It is indeed complicated. I'm afraid that by then, Kinyan and Nicholas will join forces to deal with the Ascendant Alliance. After all, the Alliance is too powerful, and they are uneasy. By then, I will lead the Alliance's strong men and fight all the way, and perhaps we will win in the end. However, by then, my friends and I will have our compatriots' blood on our hands. This is the last thing I want to see. Besides, there is a great possibility. The origins of the Alliance members are very complicated, and they come from various planets in the Milky Way. There are the Empire and the North. When they see their home planets burning with war, they will definitely join the forces of both sides. Now the war between the North and the Galactic Empire is in a stalemate, and is in a semi-truce state. Kinyan and Nicholas, neither of them can do anything to the other. If these strong people join, this delicate balance will definitely be broken, and the war will burn more fiercely. Countless planets will be burned by war. Cities will be destroyed. Countless people will die in the war, and even more people will be displaced and suffer from hunger and cold. At that time, no matter who is the final winner, human beings are all losers. Xia Xingchen said. I understand. Aang Leo nodded. I'm standing too low, and I just want to be the winner. You are standing much higher than me, and you are standing on the side of all mankind. Your choice considers the rise and fall of the entire human race. However, it is not a long-term solution for you to leave the generation spaceship in the boundless star abyss. The remaining spiritual body of Kaldori has little energy left. It can only maintain the operation of the meditation room for half a year to a year at most. By then, the meditation room will be ineffective. The Alliance will still fall apart. The strong will also return to their hometowns. For various reasons, they will join the army and join the war. The tragic future you expected will still happen. Yeah, that's true. Xia Xingchen nodded. This is also what worries me. My current situation is a race against time. Try to end the war between the North and the Empire within half a year or a year. But, this is obviously impossible. The war between the North and the Empire is the largest civil war since the founding of the Galactic Empire. Because of this war, 2 emperors of the Empire died one after another. The 2 leaders, Kinyan and Nicholas, are also warlike and gamble on the future of mankind to win. Such a war is not a game of house, and it cannot be ended by Xia Xingchen alone. I have contacted the Star Arc to increase the exchange items for Alliance points. In the past, the main use of Alliance points was to enter the meditation room. The mechas and weapons that can be exchanged are too few and not advanced. I purchased the most advanced mechas, starships, and related technologies in the Empire through the Star Merchant Alliance, and they can be exchanged in the Alliance Mall. In this way, the interest of mecha masters will be shifted from meditation rooms to exchanging mechas and weapons. At the same time, the points for entering the meditation room will be increased to reduce consumption and extend the use time of the meditation room. Xia Xingchen already had a plan in mind. Of course, this is only a temporary solution. In the final analysis, I must end this absurd civil war. Xia Xingchen clenched his fists. Therefore, I'm going to rush back to the Empire immediately. Master, you are going back to the human world. Great. I will finally see the real human society. Xiaobei came out of the portable space, and the pretty girl's face was full of excitement. I'm sorry, Xiaobei. Xia Xingchen said apologetically, I can't take you back this time. Why? Master, isn't Xiaobei good? Xiaobei was stunned, tears flashing in his big eyes. No, you're good. Xia Xingchen sighed. I really want to take you back to the Galactic Empire. Not only because of your strong fighting power, but also because I want you to understand humans. Star Devourers and humans should not be enemies. Understanding is the first step to trust. But, not now. You must stay in the infinite star abyss. I have an important task for you. Xia Xingchen said seriously. Although it's a pity that I can't go back to the Galactic Empire with the Master. But since the Master needs Xiaobei, Xiaobei will definitely listen to the Master and complete the task assigned by the Master. Xiaobei said obediently. You have two tasks. Xia Xingchen said. First, you are the link between humans and Star Devourers. Although I have ordered the Alliance spacecraft to stay away from the Aranda continent, there will definitely be conflicts between humans and Star Devourers. You need to mediate and resolve the contradictions between the two sides. Yes. Xiaobei nodded repeatedly. I can do this. Second, I will give you the time-space beacon. The time-space beacon is a super time-space transmission device. You will regularly transmit the wreckage of the mechanical spacecraft and robots hunted by the Alliance members. I will arrange people to analyze it. The Shinran technology from the mechanical race. It should be able to make our technological level leap forward. At the same time, the latest Mechas and spacecrafts exchanged by the Alliance members with points will also be transmitted through the time-space beacon. In addition, you have a more important thing to do. That is to impersonate me. Xia Xingchen said. Master? Impersonate you? Xiaobei was shocked. That's right. Impersonate me. My original intention was to leave a crystal clone on the Alliance spacecraft. However, my mental power level is too low. The clone and the original body must maintain a certain distance and cannot be too far apart. With your ability, it should not be a problem to create a puppet that looks like me. I'm in tune with your soul. You should not be able to imitate my words and deeds. Of course, I will tell the elders that I will fall asleep again. Kaldori often sleeps, and the elders will not doubt it. If an accident happens, you will impersonate me and temporarily control the Alliance. Xia Xingchen said seriously. This task is heavy, but I believe you can do it. Impersonating the Master. It's fun and interesting. Xiaobei was very interested in this task and agreed immediately. Xia Xingchen arranged the affairs of the Alliance and then drove the mecha alone and quietly left the Ascendant Generation spacecraft. Xia Xingchen turned his head and looked at the huge spaceship under the dark starry sky and couldn't help but sighed. The day Xia Xingchen came to the Alliance seemed like yesterday. When he came, Xia Xingchen was alone and a little known person. When he left, Xia Xingchen was still alone, but he was already the leader of the Alliance. During his time in the Alliance, Xia Xingchen's strength grew very fast, and he got to know his companions in the Glory Team. Especially the captain of the Glory Team, Ga, who was not very strong. But Xia Xingchen was deeply impressed by Ga's character. Captain Ga, comrades. It is you who gave me strength. Let me know that I'm not alone. Friends. Goodbye. Xia Xingchen took off his mecha combat helmet and bowed deeply in the direction of the Generation spaceship. Swoosh. The next moment, Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang mecha, opened the wormhole, made a space jump, and flew towards the direction of the Galactic Empire. Chapter 1485 Shocking Event. Swish. The Azure Dragon mecha shuttled through the lightless subspace, performing curvature navigation. Curvature navigation, also known as space jump, is the fastest way to travel in the universe. The disadvantage is that it is very boring. Xia Xingchen was alone in a small mecha with a small space for activities. It was pitch black outside, without starlight, only pure darkness, which was even more boring and crazy. However, Xia Xingchen had become accustomed to this boredom, and even liked the feeling of being alone. Besides, Xia Xingchen was not so bored that he had nothing to do. He was summarizing his gains since joining the alliance. This time, Xia Xingchen could be said to have gained a lot. The biggest gain was that Xia Xingchen's spiritual level was upgraded from the initial stage of the nebula to the peak of the planetary level. Converted to the legendary 9 realms, Xia Xingchen is already at the level of the 6th realm of legend. You know, Xia Xingchen's master, the star pirate King Roger, was only at the 8th realm of legend when he was trapped on the 36th floor of the dimensional magic cube. Maybe I have the strength to break through the dimensional cube and rescue my master. Xia Xingchen was excited and couldn't wait to return to the gold and silver star and re-enter the dimensional cube to see how many levels he could reach this time. Ha ha ha. What if I'm lucky enough to break through the 36th level and rescue my master? At that time, I wonder how wonderful the expressions of my master and fellow apprentices will be. Xia Xingchen thought to himself and laughed heartily. When I return to the Chaos Star region, I will go to the Gold and Silver Star. Report the true situation of the Ascendant Alliance to my master. Xia Xingchen made plans in his mind and arranged future plans. At the same time, Xia Xingchen admired Roger even more. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, Roger reminded himself that there was something fishy about the Ascendant Alliance. This shows that the master is worthy of being the strongest man in the world. The master's insight is as outstanding as his strength. Well, my second big achievement is to create a complete Xuanwu mecha and Beihu mecha. Xia Xingchen condensed a crystal clone in the portable space and drove the Xuanwu mecha and Beihu mecha at the same time, practicing day and night to improve his combat level. The more he understood these two mechas, the more shocked he was by their powerful performance. Of course, this is not to say that the Kinglang mecha and the Suzuki mecha are not powerful. But after the 4 holy beast mechas are gathered, the 4 mechas cooperate with each other seamlessly, and the improvement of combat effectiveness is not a simple addition accumulation, but multiplication. However, the high priest of the orcs once told me that there is a big secret hidden in the 4 holy beast mechas. When I gather the 4 mechas, I will find this secret. But why didn't I find anything? Xia Xingchen felt a little strange. I need to go to the Orc Star as well. I want to ask the High Priest what the secrets hidden in the 4 Holy Beast mechas are. Xia Xingchen also listed this matter on his schedule. The third thing is to go back to the Azure Star to see Jaina. She works hard for the Star Alliance alone and often stays up late. She is really tired. Xia Xingchen felt a little restless and couldn't calm down when he thought of Princess Jaina. Xia Xingchen took a deep breath and silently practiced the Heaven and Man Unity technique to calm himself down. He shook his head and smiled bitterly, saying self-deprecatingly, Xia Xingchen, you used to dream of becoming a starry sky wanderer. You thought no woman could tie your heart. But in the end, you are so excited just thinking of Jaina. Xia Xingchen's love for Jaina is already unforgettable. Even if there is an endless sea of stars blocking it, it can't stop Xia Xingchen's excited heart. Back to the Chaos Star region. The first thing is to find Jaina. This time, I have to spend some time with her. Xia Xingchen made up his mind. The fourth thing is to stop at the Coffin Star, guard the star arc of the Coffin Star, and my brothers. Xia Xingchen felt warm in his heart when he thought of the star arc. For Xia Xingchen, who was wandering in the starry sky, the star arc was home. No place could replace the feeling that the star arc gave Xia Xingchen. Warm, comfortable, and safe. There were like-minded friends on it, a group of loyal and powerful subordinates, a team of mecha craftsmen who were obsessed with technology and constantly delving into it, and even a cute and smart pet, the black cat Zioka, who could go anywhere in the universe at will. Thinking of the star arc, Xia Xingchen couldn't help but think of Carissa. This little girl cloned with the genes of a celestial being had a tragic life experience, which made Xia Xingchen feel heartbroken when he thought of it. I don't know if Carissa has woken up, and after she wakes up, is she a celestial being, or the previous Carissa? Xia Xingchen was also worried about his only apprentice, and broke his heart. And the damn Andre. Xia Xingchen's heart was burning with anger when he thought of Andre, and his fists were clenched tightly. Andre and Xia Xingchen are destined enemies. The fate of the two people is entangled and constantly colliding. Even death did not end the fate of the two. Andre even broke through death, returned from hell, and took revenge on Xia Xingchen. Just as Andre knew Xia Xingchen also knew Andre. The heavenly seed in Andre's body has awakened, and he has become a quasi-celestial being. His strength is top in the Milky Way and no one can stop him. Xia Xingchen went to the boundless abyss of stars, and Kirissa was in a coma. Although the coffin star is guarded by the star domain and the army left by Xia Xingchen. However, with Andre's strength and ambition, it is not impossible to capture the coffin star. However, what surprised Xia Xingchen was that Andre did not send troops to attack after escaping from the coffin star. It was as if he had completely forgotten about the coffin star. This was not in line with Andre's character. Unless Andre has something more important to do. Although he is tyrannical, he is not stupid. Andre is accumulating strength in some way. Andre lost to me last time. It was mainly because the Shinran sect was really a mob. Maybe he is recruiting and training troops, preparing to give the coffin star a fatal blow. Xia Xingchen guessed in his heart. Xia Xingchen didn't know that he had guessed it right. However, with Andre's tyrannical character, how could he calm down, keep a low profile, and slowly recruit and train troops? Andre's crazy behavior was beyond anyone's expectations. Later historians believed that what Andre did was the biggest turning point in the civil war between the North and the Empire. Even more than the Siberian victory. What Andre did was almost pushing humanity into an abyss of no return. A shocking event quietly took place on the Siberian star. The situation between the Galactic Empire and the North has once again undergone earth-shaking changes because of this incident. Chapter 1486 Father and Son Meet. On Siberia, the cold wind howled, and the sky and the earth were all white. Drunkards could be seen everywhere on the streets, holding bottles in their hands, staggering, reeking of alcohol, and singing folk songs loudly. Among these drunkards, there were even soldiers in military uniforms, who were drunk, and fell in the snow. Apart from the drunkards, there were almost no other pedestrians on the street. Only automatic snowplows were shoveling snow back and forth to ensure that the road was clear. A tall, handsome heroic man wearing a black bear fur coat was standing in the square in front of the Siberian palace, looking at this luxurious building with disgust. Then, the man walked up the high stairs step by step, and came to the gate of the palace. Stop. Who are you? No visitors are allowed here. Back off immediately. Two armed guards immediately stepped forward and stopped the man. Can't even I enter? The man took off his hood, revealing a head of flaming red hair. On his handsome face, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, revealing a cruel and cold smile. Ah. His Highness Andre. Your Highness, it's you. The two guards were so frightened when they saw the man's appearance that they trembled all over and almost dropped the laser rifles in their hands. They both knelt down quickly, with their heads down, their faces full of panic. Andre was very powerful and killed many people when he was the regent. His tyranny and cruelty were even worse than those of Nicholas the Great. Andre walked through the two guards and went straight to the depths of the palace. No. Isn't His Highness Andre dead? Yes. He died at the hands of Xia Xingchen. His Majesty was in great pain and even held a state funeral for him. The two guards reacted and turned their heads to look, but found that there was no one in the palace behind them. Is it a ghost? Or an assassin? Pretending to be His Majesty Andre? The two guards knew something was wrong and quickly notified their superiors. When the captain of the royal guard, Goggle, heard that someone had sneaked into the palace pretending to be Andre, he suspected that it was an assassin, and hurriedly led all the members of the royal guard to drive the mecha to Nicholas's bedroom to protect him. However, Andre had already entered Nicholas's bedroom at this moment, and the guards who dared to stop him were staggering in the corridor, lying on the ground, and their lives and deaths were unknown. Andre walked slowly to the center of the bedroom and stood in front of a huge ivory bed. The bed was hung with heavy curtains, and you couldn't see inside. Father. Andre knelt down in front of the window and whispered. Huh, I thought it was an assassin. I didn't expect it was really you. Andre. My son. The curtain opened, and Nicholas's clothes were disheveled, and the horror on his face had not completely subsided. Beside him were 4 naked and stunning beauties. No matter their figure or appearance, they were 90% similar to Athena. Nicholas still couldn't forget Athena. Artificially cultivated stunning beauties could no longer satisfy him. Only delicate surgical plastic surgery could quench his lust. Your Majesty. Goggle, the captain of the royal guard, drove a mecha into the bedroom with a dozen elite guards. The guards were stunned when they saw Andre kneeling in front of Nicholas. Your Highness Andre? A concubine who was leaning against Nicholas couldn't help but exclaimed, Your Highness, isn't he dead? Nicholas laughed, put on her pajamas, sat on the edge of the bed, and patted Andre's shoulder. That's right. Andre is dead. But I prayed to the gods to revive him. He is my most beloved son. No matter what the price. I want to revive him. Andre lowered his head, with a hint of disgust in his eyes. He had the memories left by the gods in his mind. He knew that Nicholas had no intention of reviving him at that time. It was the elder who told Nicholas that he was still useful and was very likely a rare dual ability person. Nicholas reluctantly agreed. Father. Andre looked up and looked at Nicholas and couldn't help frowning. Nicholas in the past was full of energy, strong, and his eyes were like swords, and no one could look at him. He was a natural king and an ambitious man. A hero who dared to overthrow the corrupt galactic empire. The person Andre admired the most. However, Nicholas now has a listless spirit, dull eyes, loose skin, and an extremely weak body. There are many needle holes on his arms, which are obviously caused by long-term injections of bliss, a mental paralysis agent. His body was completely hollowed out by drugs and women, leaving only an old and dirty skin. Father, your mental power level has actually declined to class B. Andre's mental power scanned over and immediately felt that Nicholas's mental fluctuations were terribly weak, and an expression of disbelief appeared on his face. You know, Nicholas was once an S-class mecha master. Although Nicholas did not achieve the legendary status as the Emperor of the Northern Empire, he was already powerful enough. You know, the Emperor of the Empire was entangled in government affairs and had no time to meditate and improve his strength. The 2 emperors of the Galactic Empire and the 2 princesses all had weak mental power levels. For example, Qin Zhi was only a B-class mecha master when he died. Haha. What's the use of having such a high mental power? I'm the king of a country, and it is impossible for me to go to the battlefield in person. Mecha technology is useless to me. Dragon slaying skills. Nicholas laughed without any shame. Father, I came back from the front line. I found that the soldiers on the front line were also very lazy. They just drank every day and had no intention of fighting. Andre reported. It doesn't matter. I have reached an agreement with Qin Yun. A temporary ceasefire. If such a war continues, it will not benefit either of us. The Galactic Freedom Army is ready to make a move, and Qin Yun will go to deal with them. The Northern Empire is already short of resources, and Xia Xingchen's secret sabotage has messed up the economy. Now we need to recuperate for a while, and we have to take a long-term view of everything. You just came back, so you can help me share my worries and rebuild my home. Although Nicholas is ambitious, he is not stupid. He did many stupid things in the past because the messenger of God instigated him. Now that the messenger of God is dead, Nicholas is slowly coming to realize that he was used by others to launch this costly civil war. Father, what do you mean? Andre was stunned. His expression was very excited. Ceasefire? Why ceasefire? The Galaxy Freedom Army is making trouble in the rear. We can take this opportunity to defeat the Empire. Rest and recuperate? The planets of the Northern Empire are all in bitter cold places, and resources are scarce. It is precisely because of this that we should devote the whole country's strength. Burn our boats, march straight in, capture Shiny and Star, overthrow the Empire's rule, and establish a new galaxy Northern Empire. You actually want to fight a war of attrition with Qin Yun? How can we win? Chapter 1487 Patricide. It doesn't matter if we can't win. I have reached an agreement with Qin Yun in private. He acquiesces to the regime of the Northern Empire. I support Qin Yun's ascension to the throne. This will benefit both of us. Nicholas smiled smugly. War is part of politics. Now that I have got what I want, there is no need to continue this war. Father, the Northern Empire is remote and the planet is desolate. Whether it is technology, culture, politics, or military, it is no match for the Empire. The two emperors of the empire died one after another, and the two princesses Xingyu, one was under house arrest and her life or death is unknown. The other was wanted and exiled to the chaotic starfield. Qin Yun's position was not legitimate, and he was stubborn and self-righteous, so many people below were dissatisfied. Coupled with the Galactic Freedom Army and Xia Xingchen's Jiaozi organization, Qin Yun's backyard is on fire, and he is attacked from all sides. Now is a good time for us to send troops. Why do you choose a ceasefire? Although staying in a corner can ensure peace for a few years or even decades, the final result is that once the Galactic Empire gains a foothold and its strength is restored, it will destroy the Northern Empire in one fell swoop. Andrei was heartbroken and analyzed the situation for Nicholas. Nicholas had no patience and interrupted Andrei rudely, angrily saying, "Andrei, don't I understand what you are saying? Pay attention to your identity. You are my son in name, but in fact, you are just a civilian. I was merciful and adopted you as my adopted son. Otherwise, you would have frozen to death on the street. If you died, I would have prayed to the gods to resurrect you. Now that you are back from the dead, the first thing you do is to question me? Let me tell you, those who question me are dead. You are my son, I will spare your life. Now kneel on the steps outside and calm your mind." Andrei's body shook, his face twisted slightly, and his right hand covered his chest, as if he had been hit hard by someone. Nicholas' words were too cruel and poisonous. However, it was the truth. Andrei knew very well that he was just a pawn to Nicholas. Nicholas was a dictator like Qin Yun. A dictator would not tolerate any opposition, even if Andrei was Nicholas' son in name. In a rage, Nicholas would even execute his own son. Not to mention Andrei. "Father, you have changed." Andrei stood up and looked down at Nicholas coldly. "You are no longer the same person you used to be. You have become weak, irritable, and incompetent. Your ambition has long been worn out by drugs and women. The North has no future under your leadership." Andrei was extremely disappointed, his eyes full of sadness. He actually knew why Nicholas had become what he is now. All this is a conspiracy by the gods. Nicholas used to be a determined and ambitious man. What the gods need is a puppet that obeys their orders, and does not need an empty shell of his own thoughts. Nicholas the Great's ambition is too big and too self-centered. The gods first gave advanced technology to wear down Nicholas's enterprising spirit. Then, they let the gods who are good at psychic powers break through Nicholas' psychological defenses and brainwash him with religion. Then, they let the artificial intelligence Athena appear in the form of a perfect woman and capture Nicholas' heart. Finally, the defeat in the war put Nicholas under great pressure, and he could only use drugs to numb his mind and hollow out his body. Nicholas used to be a hero. Now he is a bear, a complete waste who is immersed in medicine and women every day. Even the Emperor of the Northern Empire is in this waste state. No wonder the planets in the north are full of decadent atmosphere of debauchery. "Andrei, what do you mean? How dare you oppose me? You are crazy." Nicholas was furious, stood up, and slapped Andrei's face hard. "Pa." Nicholas' palm stopped in midair, a line of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He looked incredible, and looked down at his chest. I saw a dagger piercing the heart, all the way into the handle. At the end of the handle of the dagger made of pure gold is a lifelike roaring wolf head. "Father, this is the dagger you gave me when we first met. Now, I will return it to you." Andrei pulled out the dagger, and a stream of blood shot out from the wound, splashing blood all over his handsome face. Bang! Nicholas' body fell backwards, and fell on the white ivory bed, his eyes wide open staring at the dome. His pupils gradually dissipated, and his life was cut off. Nicholas never thought that the one who would kill him in the end would be Andrei. His most beloved adopted son Andrei. When the concubines came across Nicholas's gradually cooling body, they all screamed, huddled in the corner, and trembled. "Andrei, are you crazy? You killed your father? You are so cruel. Surrender immediately." Andrei acted too quickly, and the guards couldn't react at all. After being shocked, they pointed their guns at Andrei and shouted angrily, "I killed my father?" Andrei's face was calm, with a hint of mockery on the corner of his mouth. He grabbed a concubine and broke her neck directly. It was her who killed my father. She was an assassin sent by the Galactic Empire. Well, the assassin killed my father, and then I executed him on the spot. Bullshit. Andre, do you think we are all blind? Goggle pointed at Andre's nose and cursed. Andre's pupils shrank, and he suddenly pointed at Goggle. But a powerful mental force surged out. 10 meters away, Goggle bled from all 7 orifices and died on the spot. The female assassin just now actually had an accomplice. This accomplice was so powerful that he actually killed the captain of the Royal Guard. However, I also executed him on the spot. Andre's hand clenched in the air, and a huge force pulled a guard next to Goggle out of thin air and broke his neck directly. Ah. The captain was also killed by Andre? How is it possible? The captain is an S-class top mecha master. He died just by pointing at him. Does he have some terrible weapon? The guards were all dumbfounded. Andre's strength was too terrifying. He was not a human, but a monster. He can still do it when he is on the mecha. A guard reminded his companions. Stupid. You don't understand what a quasi-celestial being is. Andre slowly shook his head and sighed, with a sad face, pointing at the guard in the mecha. The mecha didn't work at all. The mental power penetrated the mecha, and the body of the guard was crushed by the huge force, and turned into a pool of meat paste. These assassins are really more and more powerful. Andre's face was full of blood, but there was a smile on his mouth. He grabbed another concubine, and broke her throat. Andre. The guards finally panicked. They knew they were not Andre's opponents. Even if they drove the mecha, they could not defeat Andre. The mecha pilot who was driving the mecha couldn't defeat a man with bare hands. They had never heard of such a thing, but they saw it with their own eyes. This was the strength of a quasi-celestial being. The gap in strength was so big that even the mecha couldn't make up for it. Chapter 1488 Stealing the Country. Swish, swish, swish. One after another, sharp sounds of breaking through the air rang out. A young royal guard watched helplessly as his companion's head and body were separated and died tragically in front of him. He was stunned with fear. Whether he escaped or fought back in the mecha, the final result was the same, and he was easily killed by Andre. Andre's body was already covered with blood, with a cold smile on his face, like a demon from hell. In the blink of an eye, except for this frightened young man, all the royal guards were slaughtered by Andre. What about you? What did you see? Andre asked faintly in the young man's ear, lowering his voice. I. The last young guard swallowed hard, as if a piece of lead was stuck in his throat. I saw an assassin assassinate Nicholas the Great. The assassin sneaked into the royal guards and killed many guards. In the end, all of them were killed by His Highness Andre. Ha ha ha. You are very smart. I like smart people. Andre laughed and patted the young man's shoulder with his bloody palm. I, Rorschach, am willing to serve His Highness Andre. The young man was delighted and knelt down quickly, saying in a deep voice, swish. The young guard suddenly heard a light sound, which came from his neck. He felt his body suddenly lifted into the air and saw Andre facing a headless body with his own eyes. That body looked very familiar. The young guard finally understood. It was his body. Why? His Highness Andre. The young guard's head rolled on the ground, his eyes full of unwillingness. Because I see your future. You will definitely betray me. Andre smiled coldly. I like smart people. I also hate smart people. Because smart people are better at betrayal. In the bedroom, corpses were everywhere and blood was all over the ground. Andre stood in the pile of corpses, looking at Nicholas's body, with a morbid smile on his face. Father, I will fulfill your dream for you. Let the flag of the Northern Empire be planted on every planet in the Milky Way. 3 days later, the princes and ministers of the Northern Empire all received an invitation. The invitation from the Emperor of the Northern Empire invited them to attend a banquet in the palace. Thinking of the tyranny of Nicholas the Great, those who received the invitation felt a chill in their backs. Except for a few generals, who did have military duties, and could not get back to the palace in time to attend the banquet. None of the other princes and ministers dared to disobey Nicholas the Great. After all, if they attended the banquet, they might be the only ones to die. If they dared to disobey, Nicholas would definitely kill all of their 9 clans. The princes and ministers attended the palace dinner in the evening of that day with uneasy hearts. However, after entering the palace, they were shocked to find that it was not Nicholas the Great who was waiting for them on the throne in the hall. Instead, it was a red-haired young man wearing a gilded imperial robe and a laurel crown. Andrei. Is it really Andrei? Isn't Andrei dead? Where is His Majesty Nicholas? Everyone present was stunned. First, they were shocked that Andrei had come back to life. Second, they were shocked that Andrei was so arrogant that he dared to sit on Nicholas' throne, wearing a laurel crown and an imperial robe, obviously thinking of himself as the emperor. What a treasonous act. If Nicholas the Great knew, even if Andrei was his adopted son, he would be killed without mercy. Yes, it's me. I didn't expect you to recognize me. Andrei waved his right hand, and the imperial robe fluttered without wind, with amazing power. I have two announcements. Andrei raised two fingers. First, His Majesty has passed away. But, like a meteorite falling into the deep sea, Andrei's words set off huge waves in everyone's heart. Passed away. Did Nicholas the Great pass away? The assassins of the Galactic Empire sneaked into the palace, assassinated His Majesty, and killed all the royal guards. I was a step late. When I saw my father, he was already dying, with only his last breath left. Andrei's face was full of grief, and his right hand was holding his chest. Before he died, he passed the throne to me. Hey! A mocking voice suddenly sounded below. An old minister stood up and shouted, Andrei, you are talking nonsense. Even if His Majesty dies, he can't pass the throne to you. You are just his adopted son. A general also stood up and said in a deep voice, His Majesty's sudden death is a big deal. First of all, we must block the news. Then investigate the matter thoroughly. We can't let the thieves take advantage of it. Other ministers and nobles also echoed, thinking that this matter was too strange, and Andrei's word should not be trusted. Are you targeting me? Don't believe me? Me, Andrei, the regent of the Northern Empire, the legitimate heir to the throne, the future emperor of the Northern Empire. You are actually questioning me? Andrei smiled coldly. Yes, I'm questioning you. Andrei is dead. Whether you are really Andrei is still to be discussed. The old minister was very dissatisfied with Andrei's previous tyrannical behavior and said loudly, Old dog. Andrei's face suddenly changed. He was no longer as gentle and elegant as usual. His expression was tyrannical, and he cursed angrily, looking for death. Bang! The old minister's head exploded and blood splattered. Ah! Everyone present was panicked, and some people screamed. And you? No matter what your military rank is, no matter what kind of contribution you have made to the country, I will give you a state funeral. Andrei turned his head and looked at the general who had contradicted him. He raised his hand and pointed. The general's chest sank, blood spurted out of his mouth, and he died on the spot. Andrei, you. The ministers were terrified and prepared to escape from the door, but found that there were many people wearing white robes, wearing hoods to cover their faces, and holding weapons blocking the door. There were Xia marks on the white robes. These people are believers of Xia. Xia was completely destroyed in the Galaxy Empire, but it is still the state religion of the Northern Empire. The foundation of Xia was originally in the north, and it has long been infiltrated into all aspects of the economy, culture, and military. Among the princes and ministers present, many are believers of Xia. Andrei is the messenger of Xia. Naturally, he can easily command these believers. This is also Andrei's biggest reliance for stealing the country. Today is a good day. It is the day when my father Nicholas is buried. It is also the day when I, Andrei, ascend the throne. This banquet is because I invited you to witness my ascension to the throne. This is your blessing. If any of you are dissatisfied with my ascension to the throne, you can raise it. Of course, Andrei will not listen to your bullshit opinions. Andrei laughed, turned around and sat on the throne, looking at the princes and ministers who were shocked on the spot. Andrei can clearly see their future. He knows clearly who is dissatisfied and will betray him in the future. However, there are not many such people, because the smart people with backbone died in the waves of purges of Nicholas the Great. The rest of the people are spineless people who fear power and kowtow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1489, Huge Ambition. Siberia. A royal banquet, with unrecognizable corpses constantly carried out of the palace, is a well-deserved feast of death. Not only that, overnight, more than a dozen ancient families on Siberia were uprooted, and family members were executed overnight, leaving no one. Such a terrible incident should have set off a big wave. However, no one paid attention to it at all, because another earth-shaking event happened, not only in Siberia, but also in the Northern Empire. The entire galaxy was shaken, and countless people were moved. Nicholas the Great died. Regent Andrei succeeded to the throne, and ascended the throne. You know, although Nicholas regarded himself as an emperor, he did not really ascend the throne until his death. Nicholas always left himself a way out. As long as he did not openly proclaim himself emperor, and hold the coronation ceremony, then he and the Galactic Empire would not be at war to the death. There is room for reasoning. Qin Yun saw this, and signed a secret agreement with Nicholas, which allowed him to default to the Northern Empire regime in exchange for his support and let himself ascend the throne. However, Andrei didn't care about that at all. On the first day of his reign, he ascended the throne directly, and announced that he was the real emperor of the Galactic Empire. It can be said to be extremely crazy. What Andrei did was not only scolded by everyone in the Galactic Empire. Even within the Northern Empire, there were several powerful generals who were dissatisfied and cursed in their own mansions. However, the next day, news came out that these generals died suddenly in their own mansions last night. There were no witnesses, and the forensic doctor could not find out how the generals died. However, everyone knew that these people died in Andrei's hands. Andrei was too scary. 10,000 times more terrifying than Nicholas. Although Nicholas was moody, he was nostalgic. Nicholas often showed some mercy to his old subordinates, who had always followed him. Andrei was different. He killed whoever he wanted to kill. No matter who it was, no matter how great his contributions to the North were, they were all insects in his eyes. Under Andrei's crazy killing, the Northern Empire fell into bloody terror. Everyone was in danger, and even in their own homes, they dared not speak loudly, let alone say bad things about Andrei. As for those who publicly expressed their opposition to Andrei, they either died suddenly on the spot, or were caught by the law enforcement team of the Shinran religion, and thrown into prison, where they were humiliated to death. Andrei used terror as a means to purge dissidents, and ascended the throne, to become the new emperor of the Northern Empire. At the same time, Andrei was the envoy of the Xia Xingchen religion. He combined political and religious power in one person, and his power was overwhelming. Anyone who questioned him would die miserably. No one could restrict his power at all. The power in Andrei's hands far exceeded that of Nicholas. However, there were still many voices of opposition within the Northern Empire, and most of the opponents were high-ranking military officers on the front line. Andrei needed some time to purge these people. After completely purging dissidents and taking control of the political, religious, and military power in his hands, Andrei would reignite the war and launch a large-scale attack on the Galactic Empire. The news that Emperor Nicholas died and Andrei succeeded to the throne spread throughout the galaxy in just a few days. In the Galactic Empire, some are happy, while others are worried. Overall, there are more happy people. On a starship, Qin Yun jumped up with joy after learning that Nicholas had passed away, and confirming that it was not a rumor. Ha ha ha. Nicholas, that old thief. He is finally dead. Qin Yun was ecstatic. I thought there was no chance to retake the North. God is really helping me. This is the best chance. Your Highness, the successor is Andrei. An aide whispered to remind. Of course I know it's Andrei. Qin Yun snorted coldly. I've dealt with Andrei a lot. Andrei is a talented person, but he's too young and naive. He led the army of the Shinran sect to attack Lingju Star, and was beaten to a bloody pulp by Xia Xingchen and his men. All the people in the Shinran sect died. So stupid. Moreover, Nicholas' sudden death must have something to do with Andrei. He came to power illegitimately. There must be a lot of opposition in the North. He might even be overthrown. This is a great opportunity for us to attack and take back the North. Your Highness, what do you mean? The staff was slightly startled and asked, "Give up attacking the Galaxy Freedom Army. The small Galaxy Freedom Army can't amount to anything. When I recover the North and have enough reputation, I will return to Xia Star to ascend the throne and become emperor." Qin Yun was making his own calculations in his mind. "Yes, sir." The staff saluted hurriedly and went down to convey Qin Yun's order to transfer the main Starfleet from the Penglai Star region back to the Chang'an Star region front. Swish. In the Chaos Star region, a flash of light appeared in the starry sky, and the figure of the Azure Dragon Mecha appeared. Xia Xingchen looked at the long-lost bright starlight in the distance, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. "Ha ha ha, I'm finally back. The endless star abyss is too desolate and boring. Or the Chaos Star region is more prosperous. At least you can see stars everywhere." Beep beep. The Mecha communicator made a sharp beeping sound, and it was the news from the Star region arc. Could it be that Andre attacked the Coffin Star? Xia Xingchen's heart trembled, and he quickly turned on the communicator. "My lord, I finally contacted you." Li Huamo's beautiful face appeared on the screen. The unruly pirate aura on her body had been restrained. She looked like an elite captain from the Xia Star Military Academy. "Well, I just finished the jump and returned to the Chaos Star region. What's the matter that you are so anxious to find me?" Xia Xingchen nodded. "My lord, Emperor Nicholas the Great passed away, and Andre succeeded to the throne of the Northern Empire Emperor." Li Huamo took a deep breath and said this shocking news. "What?" Xia Xingchen's face changed, and he doubted his ears for a moment. "Andre killed Nicholas. He actually killed his own father. This beast. No. Something worse than a beast." Xia Xingchen knew Andre too well. After being shocked, he immediately understood that Andre was defeated on the Coffin Star and was still brooding over it. Andre did not think that his strength and talent were inferior to Xia Xingchen. Instead, he thought that the celestial cult under him was a mob and could not compare to the elite Mecha Corps under Xia Xingchen. Therefore, Andre even killed his father to seize the Northern Empire and devote all the power of the North to revenge Xia Xingchen. It's not just revenge. Andre is a quasi-celestial being with a celestial seed in his body. His strength is unbelievable. He broke into the Coffin Star alone, as if he was in an empty space. Now he controls the Northern Empire again. He has countless starships and mechas in his hands. He wants to destroy the Galactic Empire. Destroy humanity. Xia Xingchen trembled and instantly guessed Andre's huge ambition. Chapter 1491 RUI asks for help. Andre will never give up. Once he secures his position as the Emperor of the Northern Empire, he will lead his army to invade the Galactic Empire. Xia Xingchen frowned. As an old enemy, he knew Andre's character very well. With Andre's quasi-celestial strength, it is not difficult for him to secure his position as Emperor. In the North, there are many people who oppose Andre, but he is not alone. You know, Andre has the support of the Celestial Religion. The Celestial Religion is a state religion of the Northern Empire. There are churches of the Celestial Religion on almost all planets within the territory of the Northern Empire. Many wealthy people, politicians, and generals also believe in the Celestial Religion. Coupled with Andre's tough tactics and bloody means, he will soon have the Northern Empire firmly under his control. I don't have much time left. With my strength alone, I can't be the opponent of Andre, the Emperor of the Northern Empire. Xia Xingchen's eyes flashed with a cold light. We must unite all the forces that can be united. We can even use the army of the Galactic Empire. Only then will we have the strength to fight Andre. Xia Xingchen clenched his fists, and he had already made a plan in his mind. I originally planned to go back to the Azure Star to seek Jaina first. Now the situation has changed. I can only go to the Coffin Star first, return to the Star Domain Arc, and discuss with my companions. After that, I will go to find Ting Ting and her father to get the help of the Galactic Freedom Army. Xia Xingchen made up his mind and immediately adjusted the route. He drove the Kinglang Mecha to prepare for another jump and flew to the Coffin Star on the edge of the Chang'an Star Domain. At this time, the communicator beeped again, and it turned out to be a red distress signal. A distress signal from 1RUI. Xia Xingchen was stunned when he saw the sender's name. 1RUI, little brother, is asking for help? Isn't he training in the starry sky with the King Star pirates? Why would he suddenly ask for help? Is he in danger that even the King Star pirates can't solve? Xia Xingchen was nervous and quickly turned on the communicator to see the details of the distress signal. However, what surprised Xia Xingchen was that the content of the distress signal was empty. Light brain, check the location where the distress signal was sent. Xia Xingchen felt a sense of foreboding. Although Wan Rui was young, he was calm and would not do such a boring prank. No such place. The light brain responded quickly. No such place. Xia Xingchen felt even more puzzled. Any signal, as long as it is sent out, will have a sending location. Generally, it is the name of a planet or the coordinates of the starry sky. There are two reasons why there is no such place. One is that the place where Wan Rui is located is very dangerous and is located in an alien space, which interferes with the signal source. The other is that Wan Rui himself concealed the sending location. No matter which one it is, it means that Wan Rui is in danger. Xia Xingchen immediately tried to contact Wan Rui through the communicator. However, the superwave communicator has been unable to obtain Wan Rui's signal. Not only Wan Rui, but also other brothers could not be contacted. Something happened. Xia Xingchen's heart sank, and he was sure that Wan Rui's distress signal was real. Not only Wan Rui, but the entire King Star Pirates group was in trouble. The gold and silver star is in a closed state, and the master is isolated from the world. I guess even he doesn't know that the King Star Pirates group is in danger. What's more, the master is trapped. Knowing that his Star Pirate group is in trouble, he is also anxious and can't help. This matter can only be handled by me. The problem now is how to find the King Star Pirates group. Plans can never keep up with changes. Xia Xingchen decided to temporarily terminate his plan to save Wan Rui and his fellow apprentices. The universe is so big. The King space carrier is erratic. How can I find them? This is the first problem Xia Xingchen needs to solve. For others, it is absolutely impossible to find a starship in the vast sea of stars. But Xia Xingchen's eyes lit up, and he took out something from his personal space, a golden skull coin. This was given to Xia Xingchen by Roger. It looks like a golden skull coin, but it is actually a superwave communicator. Roger once solemnly told Xia Xingchen that if he encountered troubles that could not be solved, he should use the communicator to contact the King Star Pirates. The king will come to Xia Xingchen as quickly as possible to solve the trouble for him. This golden skull coin represents Roger's concern for Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen also encountered many troubles later, but he persisted through them with his own efforts and luck. He was reluctant to use this coin. Now, it is time to use it. However, unlike what Roger expected, the role of this coin is not for the King Star Pirates to save Xia Xingchen, but for Xia Xingchen to save the King Star Pirates. Xia Xingchen's finger gently pressed on the skull of the coin, and immediately a holographic projection appeared, which was two sets of coordinate numbers. One set of coordinates was Xia Xingchen's current location, and the other set of coordinates was the location of the King Star Pirates. There is also a constantly changing number below, which represents how long it will take for the starship of the King Star Pirates to reach the coordinates where Xia Xingchen is. Xia Xingchen immediately imported the star coordinates into the star map, and a look of astonishment suddenly appeared on his face. The location of the king was not far from the gold and silver star, only 2 star systems apart. According to the flying speed of the king, it would take less than a day to reach the gold and silver star. Strange. How could it be so close? Xia Xingchen looked puzzled, and the ominous feeling in his heart became even stronger. However, the location of the gold and silver star is originally remote. It is the border of the chaotic star field. There are several wild planets nearby that have not been thoroughly explored. Besides, the starry sky is mysterious and full of dangers. Xia Xingchen thought about it. Master Roger found alien ruins on the gold and silver star, obtained the dimensional Rubik's Cube, and was later trapped on the gold and silver star. It can be seen that there was once a powerful alien civilization in the starfield near the gold and silver star. Perhaps the king went to explore other relics of this civilization and encountered danger. No matter what happened to the king, I'll rush to the location of the spaceship first. Xia Xingchen immediately drove the King Lang Mecha, performed a jump, and flew towards the coordinates of the king. The King Star Pirates, the #1 star pirate group in the galaxy. The king, one of the largest space aircraft carriers of mankind. The leader Roger, the strongest man in mankind. The Star Pirates and the Star Pirate group are undoubtedly strong. Even a legendary mecha master may not be qualified to join the Star Pirate group. In terms of strength, the King Star Pirates is one of the top 3 armed organizations in the galaxy. The first is the Promoter Alliance. The second is the Galactic Freedom Army. The third is the King Star Pirates. The reason why the King Star Pirates ranked third is because there are too few crew members. The huge space aircraft carrier has only a few hundred crew members, and there are only dozens of strong people who can really call themselves Star Pirates. However, the Star Pirate group with only dozens of Star Pirates is the third ranked armed organization in the galaxy. This shows how terrifying the strength of these Star Pirates is. Even the powerful and mysterious Ascendant Alliance, in terms of individual strength of its members, is not as valuable as the King Star Pirates. Such a powerful armed organization actually encountered danger. All the brothers were trapped. One RUI even sent him a distress signal. Xia Xingchen was full of doubts. He couldn't imagine what kind of danger the king had encountered. Chapter 1491 Isolation Gel. A few days later, there was a flash in the starry sky, and the figure of the Azure Dragon Mech appeared, ending the curvature flight and leaving the subspace. Xia Xingchen was still a few hours away from the starry sky, coordinates where the king was located. The troubles encountered by the King Star Pirates had not been figured out yet, so Xia Xingchen did not dare to be careless. The Azure Dragon Mech turned on the Mirage mode, hiding its body, and approached the king carefully. Brother 1 RUI. And fellow apprentices, you must hold on. Xia Xingchen was worried and prayed silently in his heart. A few hours later, Xia Xingchen finally saw the king's spacecraft carrier in the distance. It was docked in the outer orbit of a desolate planet, motionless. Xia Xingchen tried to contact the king, but did not receive any response, like an empty ghost ship. Weird. Xia Xingchen drove the mech carefully closer, and sent a parking signal to the king. Identity confirmed. Xia Xingchen, welcome home. The king's automatic system was running normally. After a mechanical female voice reminded, the hatch of the airport opened, and an automatic pilot flew out, leading Xia Xingchen into the interior of the king. On the king's airport, everything was in order. From time to time, loading robots were seen going in and out of the parked small and medium-sized spacecraft, and maintenance robots were welding the hull, bursting with large sparks. Everything was normal, except that no one was seen. Xia Xingchen's heart tightened. Everything was normal, which was the most abnormal thing. What happened on the king? Where did the people on the spacecraft go? Xia Xingchen left the airport and walked along the passage towards the bridge. The light brain of the spacecraft was normal, and there must be surveillance records. As long as he got to the spacecraft control console on the bridge, he could call up the records and find out what happened on the king, and where the brothers and the pirates went. However, as soon as Xia Xingchen walked into a long passage, the originally bright lights suddenly went out, and the red emergency lights turned on and kept flashing. Alarm. Alarm. The piercing alarm sounded, and the entire passageway was constantly flashing red, creating a tense atmosphere. Alarm. Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, and soon realized that it was not someone else who triggered the alarm, but himself. How is it possible? Didn't they confirm my identity at the airport? How did I trigger the alarm device in the passageway? Xia Xingchen's heart tightened, and he suddenly looked up at the camera hidden above the passageway. He knew that someone was watching him at the other end of the camera. All this was done by that person. No matter what, I'll go to the bridge first. Xia Xingchen immediately took out the Kinglang Mecha from his personal space. His eyes were solemn, and he scanned the surroundings. The starry sky wings behind the Mecha spread out, and suddenly rushed forward. Boom. A steel isolation door fell down with a bang, blocking Xia Xingchen's way. Break. Xia Xingchen shouted in a low voice, and the Kinglang Mecha condensed a thunder spear in his hand, and stabbed it out suddenly. Boom. The heavy steel isolation door, which even a high-yield high-explosive bomb could not penetrate, was like paper at this moment, and was easily pierced by the thunder spear. What a powerful boy. At the control console of the bridge, several people covered in black robes could not help but exclaimed, "Yes, Xia Xingchen, this kid has grown too fast. Even I didn't expect it." He is so strong now. An old voice was shocked. What should we do? The isolation door can't stop him at all. He will rush to the bridge soon. Then all our arrangements will be useless. A man in a black robe shouted. Inject gel. The old voice ordered. Gel. If gel is injected, it will cause irreversible damage to the hull. Do we really want to do it? The other people were shocked. What time is it? Are you still worried about this spaceship? The old voice shook his head and said, inject gel immediately. Stop Xia Xingchen at all costs. Boom. 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 The long spear in the hands of the Azure Dragon Mech was like thunder, stabbing out continuously, tearing through one isolation door after another. Xia Xingchen rushed straight towards the direction where the bridge was located with unstoppable force. Doors opened on both sides of the passage, and countless robots with live ammunition rushed out, attacking Xia Xingchen and firing laser beams. Too weak. Xia Xingchen shouted, and the thunder spear swept across, and a half-moon-shaped lightning flew out, instantly blasting more than a dozen robots into pieces, with electric sparks flashing all over their bodies. Alarm! Alarm! There are intruders! There are intruders! More robots rushed out, their eyes flashing red, and attacked Xia Xingchen. Broken copper and rotten iron. After seeing the combat robots of the mechanical family, these robots developed by humans in front of him seemed too weak to Xia Xingchen. If it weren't for the fact that Xia Xingchen didn't want to damage the hull of the king, he only needed one blow to kill all the hundreds of robots in front of him. Now, Xia Xingchen could only clean up carefully. Swish, swish, swish. The thunder spear in the hands of the Azure Dragon Mech kept sweeping across, and the blue light of thunder filled the entire passage. After a while, the robots were cleared out, and the passage was full of broken robot wreckage. Boom. We are not far from the bridge. Xia Xingchen broke through the next isolation door. However, a white glue-like object flowed out from behind the door, solidified instantly, and turned into a white plaster-like object, blocking the passage. Isolation gel. In order to prevent me from reaching the bridge, they actually used isolation gel. Xia Xingchen frowned, feeling quite tricky. Spacecraft will encounter various dangers when sailing. Fire, poison gas, hull damage, etc. are all deadly dangers. When the danger reaches a certain level and cannot be handled by ordinary means, the captain will order the use of isolation gel to block the passage and isolate the danger. However, isolation gel is difficult to clean and causes great damage to the hull. Unless it is absolutely necessary, no captain will use isolation gel. Isolation gel is the ultimate means to deal with danger. Who on earth is on the bridge? They actually think I'm a huge crisis? Xia Xingchen shook his head and smiled bitterly. It's not that he has no way to clean the isolation gel. The high temperature attack of the Suzuki Mecha is the best way to eliminate the gel. However, the isolation gel is too troublesome and time consuming to handle. Xia Xingchen is afraid of unexpected changes and doesn't want to waste time here. Take a detour. There is more than one way to the bridge. Xia Xingchen had lived on the King for a long time and was very familiar with the structure of this ship. He made a prompt decision, turned the Mecha around, and rushed towards another passage. Chapter 1492 Laser Cage. Boom. 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 Xia Xingchen drove the Mecha. The thunder spear in his hand danced with lightning, constantly breaking through the isolation door and rushing forward. From time to time, a large number of armed robots intercepted and tried to stop Xia Xingchen. A pile of broken copper and rotten iron. Xia Xingchen didn't even look at it and directly switched the Mecha to the basalt Mecha. It was covered with a layer of ice armor, exuding a chill. The huge body rushed forward like a heavy tank, crushing the armed robots along the way into pieces. However, when Xia Xingchen approached the core area of the bridge again, the passage in front was filled with isolation gel again, blocking the way. Damn it. If it was an enemy starship, I would have blasted a way out directly. Unfortunately, it was Master's King. Xia Xingchen felt aggrieved, looking at the white plaster-like gel in front of him, shaking his head and sighing, and could only change the route again. I just hope that I can rush into the bridge before the enemy injects the gel. Xia Xingchen changed 5 routes in a row, and finally stood in front of a huge cabin. This is the prison cell of the king. There are hundreds of ordinary cells on both sides, and a huge laser cage in the center, where alien beasts are occasionally imprisoned. This cage is very strong. Even if the alien beasts are thick-skinned and strong, they will be burned to ashes when they touch the laser on the cage. Usually, the laser cage is closed. After Xia Xingchen entered the cell, he was shocked to find that there was someone in the cage. In the laser cage, there were 9 young people of the same age as Xia Xingchen, both men and women, wearing the dark gold combat uniforms of the King's Star Pirates. These people were sitting or standing, with despair on their faces. Only one person, with hope on his young face, looked at the entrance of the cell. This person was Wan Rui. The other 8 people were Roger's 8 disciples, Xia Xingchen's fellow apprentices. Wan Rui. Don't wait foolishly. Do you really think that Xia Xingchen will come to save you? Too naive. What's more, that group of people is so strong. Even the 9 of us are no match for them. It's so humiliating to be caught and locked up here. Even if Xia Xingchen really comes, with his weak strength, he can't change anything. Zhang Yan sneered at the side with a stern face. Others were dissatisfied with Zhang Yan's attitude, but did not refute it. Even Laura nodded slightly, agreeing with Zhang Yan's statement. The 9 brothers and sisters joined the Kingstar Pirates group, and continued to explore secrets and search for treasures. Although there were many crises, there were also constant opportunities. In a secret universe, they got a treasure, and the 9 people became legends in one fell swoop. Zhang Yan and Wan Rui were originally the best among the 9. Now, Zhang Yan has entered the higher level of Nebula. Wan Rui followed closely behind, and his level is also in the middle level of Nebula. They are all geniuses and very conceited. After a series of adventures, their strength has improved by leaps and bounds. The arrogance that was suppressed by Xia Xingchen before has now emerged again. It stands to reason that Xia Xingchen should have had some adventures when he joined the Ascenders Alliance. However, the Ascenders Alliance is a large organization with a strict hierarchy, and resources will definitely not be tilted towards Xia Xingchen, a newcomer. Therefore, Xia Xingchen's growth rate is definitely not as fast as this. At this moment, the door collapsed, and a huge silver-white figure rushed in. Wan Rui and the other brothers. Xia Xingchen drove the black tortoise mech into the cell, and was surprised and happy to see the appearance of the people in the cage. Brother. Wan Rui frowned slightly when he saw the huge silver-white mech. He had never seen a black tortoise mech, but he felt the familiar spiritual fluctuations coming from the mech, and he screamed out, Xia Xingchen? It's really Xia Xingchen. He really received Wan Rui's distress signal and came to save us? The brothers saw that the driver of the silver mech was Xia Xingchen, and their faces suddenly changed. They widened their eyes and couldn't close their mouths. Zhang Yan's face turned pale and blue. He just said that Xia Xingchen would not come, but he was immediately slapped in the face. He was embarrassed. Xia Xingchen, I advise you to leave immediately. It's too dangerous here. If those people rush over and you are caught, we will all be finished. Go to Jinyingxing to find the master immediately. This is the only chance. Zhang Yan said seriously. Oh. Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows. Who are the enemies? I don't know. Zhang Yan shook his head, but they are all very powerful, wearing black robes and masks. I can't see their faces clearly. You are too lame. You were caught and didn't even know who the enemy was. Xia Xingchen glanced at Zhang Yan and said coldly, Xia Xingchen, you came to save us. We are very grateful, but it's meaningless for you to be so sarcastic. Laura said loudly, yes, you are powerful. You don't know how strong they are. You will have no power to fight back when you meet them. Zhang Yan snorted and said, how many human mecha masters are stronger than you in the galaxy? You can count them on your fingers, but you still can't figure out the identity of the enemy. Xia Xingchen said helplessly. Brother. Wan Rui stood up quickly. Those people suddenly appeared on the king, and their strength is terrifying. We were caught off guard and were captured. According to my observation, they are very familiar with the king and the members on the king. I speculate that they are probably the old enemies of the master. It's the same as saying that the master has many enemies. However, being familiar with the king is useful information. Xia Xingchen touched his chin and pondered. Forget it. Don't worry about it. I'll save you first. Xia Xingchen shouted, and the ice spear in the hand of the black tortoise mecha swept heavily on the laser cage. Bang! A huge force came, and the ice spear was actually shaken away. The black tortoise mecha also stepped back a few steps before it stood firm. What a sturdy cell. Xia Xingchen was shocked. The attack power of the Zuanwu mecha is too weak. I will change to the Suzuki mecha, and I should be able to smash the laser cage. Ah. One RUI and the other screamed, panicked, and fell to the ground. It turned out that Xia Xingchen's attack just now deformed the laser cage, and the laser beam shot out in the cage, almost causing casualties. No. Although the Suzuki mecha can destroy the cage. But I'm not 100% sure that one RUI and the others will not be injured. We need to find the switch of the laser cage. Xia Xingchen came to the operating table on the side and looked for a way to open the cage. The method to open the laser cage is very simple. You need a key to twist the switch and turn on the console, and you can operate it at will. However, the key was not on the console. Boy, are you looking for this? Just when Xia Xingchen was a little anxious, 7 people in black robes and masks fell from a high altitude and stood at the other end of the cell. One of them held a console key in his hand, and strange ink spots appeared on his mask, outlining a gloomy smile. Chapter 1493, Jack the Clown. In the darkness, a group of masked men in black robes walked out carelessly, obviously not taking Xia Xingchen seriously. Xia Xingchen looked at this group of strange people who suddenly walked out, frowning, and his eyes swept over them, finally landing on a hunched black-robed man at the back. It's bad. The enemy is coming. I told you to escape earlier, but you didn't listen, and now the enemy is right in front of you. You can't escape, even if you want to. It's over. Everything is over. Laura muttered in despair. What a fool. Zhang Yan snorted coldly. Big brother is also trying to save us. One RUI muttered in a low voice. Shut up. The ink masked man in the front roared fiercely, raised his hand suddenly, and threw a flying knife, shooting at the laser cage. Crack, crack, crack. The laser cage flickered, and the laser inside shot out. Sparks were brilliant. Ah. The 9 young men hid with their heads in their hands, looking embarrassed. Laura's clothes were hit by the laser and burned immediately, becoming tattered and revealing her beautiful white body underneath. She covered her chest and lower body with her hands, her face flushed with shame, and her teeth bit her lips tightly. Ha ha ha. The man with the ink mask laughed wildly. If you dare to make noise again, I will kill you. Stop it. Xia Xingchen walked forward with a cold face and asked, who are you? What is your purpose? Are you Xia Xingchen? The man with the ink mask turned his head, and the ink on the mask kept changing, and finally turned into a hideous clown face. You are very famous, even more famous than your master. My name is Jack. Clown Jack. You should have heard of my name. Sorry, I haven't heard of it. Xia Xingchen said coldly. You haven't heard of it? Very good. I will kill you, and then send your brothers and sisters to be buried together. Clown Jack's body suddenly flew up and entered a black and red mecha that looked like a clown and shouted viciously, go. The clown mecha was very agile, moving irregularly in the air like a zigzag lightning, and instantly reached the back and top of the black tortoise mecha. 10 fingers turned into 10 sharp daggers, shooting towards Xia Xingchen. Clown Jack had rich combat experience. The position where he was driving the mecha was just the blind spot of human vision. The sky was full of flashing knife shadows, covering Xia Xingchen. Ice armor. Xia Xingchen shouted softly, and a thick layer of ice armor condensed on the black tortoise mecha. At the same time, 3 huge ice shields condensed and revolved around the mecha like satellites. Ding, ding, ding. Those flying knives that shot over were blocked by the ice shields, making crisp sounds, and could not hurt the mecha body at all. What a strong defense. The ink mask on the clown's face changed and turned into an exclamation mark. It's been a while since we last met. This kid is so strong. If I can't take him down, I'll be so embarrassed. The clown mecha had a few more colorful balls in his hand and threw them at Xia Xingchen. These balls are special high explosive bombs with great power and small range. In the eyes of Clown Jack, they are enough to penetrate the defense of the basalt mecha. Xia Xingchen looked at it coldly, shook his head slowly, released a crystal clone, and appeared behind the clown mecha in the white tiger mecha. No. There is a clone. Run. Clown Jack's sixth sense is sharp, and he immediately feels the power of the white tiger mecha. The clown mecha crushed a jamming bomb in his hand, and smoke rose up, ready to take the opportunity to escape. Roar. The white tiger mecha turned into a steel tiger, and the giant palm fell down, pressing the shoulders of the clown mecha, throwing it to the ground, spitting out a sharp gun from his mouth, pointing at the cockpit of the mecha. You lose. Xia Xingchen said lightly. Damn, too strong. And I know you haven't used your full strength yet. The mask of the clown Jack kept changing, and could no longer turn into a pattern. His heart was already in a mess. Xia Xingchen won. He actually beat this clown. I was killed by the clown in one move. Xia Xingchen is indeed much stronger than us. He is the strongest among the brothers. We have so many adventures, but in the end we are still not as good as Xia Xingchen. This is not a difference in luck, but talent. We are not as good as him. What if he won? He just beat the weakest clown. There are still 6 men in black. With Xia Xingchen alone, it is impossible to win against 6. In the laser cage, the brothers talked about it. Some were shocked by Xia Xingchen's strength and thought there was hope to escape. Some were still pessimistic and thought that Xia Xingchen just won by luck. Jack actually lost. Xia Xingchen is still amazing. The 6 black-robed masked men were also shocked. Parker, you go. Don't hold back this time. The last black-robed man spoke. His voice was old, and he was obviously the leader of this group of people. A tall, 3-meter tall black-robed giant walked out, driving a huge mecha that was about the same height as the white tiger mecha, and said to Xia Xingchen in a muffled voice, "Your next opponent is me." Xia Xingchen smiled and shook his head slowly. "Sorry, I no longer have the will to fight. The battle is over." "The battle is over? What do you mean? Aren't you afraid that we will kill your fellow apprentices?" Parker asked curiously. "This farce should be over. Am I right, teacher?" Xia Xingchen's eyes passed Parker and fell on the last leader. "Teacher?" Everyone present was stunned. The person who attacked the king was actually Xia Xingchen's teacher? A teacher is different from a master. There is only one master in a lifetime. But there can be many teachers. Xia Xingchen has many teachers, from professors in the military academy to Zuo Leheng and Hao Xian, 2 mecha masters, and several martial arts masters who have taught Xia Xingchen martial arts. They are all Xia Xingchen's teachers. Who is this black-robed man? The black-robed leader's body trembled noticeably, and after hesitating for a while, he took off the mask on his face, revealing his true face. "Ah. How is it possible? Master Dan Fangsheng. How could it be you? Master, what are you saying?" Seeing the leader's face, the young people in the laser cage were stunned and screamed. The leader who led these black-robed people to attack them and capture the king's spaceship was actually Dan Fangsheng. Dan Fangsheng once taught Xia Xingchen about the knowledge of domain mechas. The 2 of them were in the name of master and apprentice, and he was indeed Xia Xingchen's teacher. Master Dan Fangsheng was one of the 3 great mecha design masters of the galaxy, named together with Zuo Leheng and Hao Xian. Although he was a little weird, obsessed with mecha research, and didn't care about worldly affairs, he was definitely not a bad person. Not only was Xia Xingchen familiar with Dan Fangsheng, but Wan Yui and others who followed the king to the Starry Sea also asked Dan Fangsheng to modify their mechas. Dan Fangsheng was actually the mastermind of the hijacking of the king. What was going on? Chapter 1494, The Truth Revealed. It's time to end this farce. We have already waited for the person we are waiting for. Dan Fangsheng's eyes were shining, staring at Xia Xingchen. That's right. Xia Xingchen, this kid, is beyond my expectations in terms of strength and insight. The black-robed masked men around Dan Fangsheng also sighed, took off the masks on their faces, and revealed their true faces. Kara, Jin, Agamemnon. In the laser cage, the brothers exclaimed one by one, calling out the names of these people. These people are all members of the King Star Pirates. They have more or less instructed Wan Yui and others in combat and training, and can be called their masters. Clown Jack also took off his mask. He was a legendary strongman named Xia Yui, who had met Xia Xingchen several times. Xia Yui held the mask in his hand, shook his head and smiled bitterly. Clown Jack is the pseudonym I used when I was young to venture into the Star Sea. I'm also a little famous among the Star Pirates. I didn't expect that I would be defeated by you. I stood up, inserted the key into the control console, opened the laser cage, and released the 9 brothers. The 9 people looked frightened and confused, not knowing what had happened. Teacher Xia Xingchen looked at Dong Fangsheng, who was also waiting for an explanation. Xingchen, tell me first, how did you recognize us? Dong Fangsheng asked seriously. It's very simple. Xia Xingchen smiled and said, one RUI told me that the enemy is very powerful and is very familiar with the king. There are not many such people in the Milky Way. In addition, when I was fighting with RUI, I found that there was a mark left by you on the clown mecha. In other words, this mecha was made by you for him. Dong Fangsheng was surprised. That's all? Xia Xingchen shook his head. Of course it's more than that. Have you forgotten what my domain is? The domain of omniscience. Master once said that omniscience is invincible. I saw all kinds of abnormalities and was also suspicious in my heart, so I quietly expanded the domain. In the domain of omniscience, all information is exposed. Your masks and robes can't stop my detection at all. This Dong Fangsheng and the pirates of the king were all surprised. They knew that Xia Xingchen had given them face and did not tell the truth. The omniscience domain is powerful, but it is not so easy to detect the information of the strong unless the mental power is completely suppressed. This shows that Xia Xingchen's mental power is far superior to everyone present. Moreover, Xia Xingchen's omniscience domain exploration was completed without anyone noticing, which is even more difficult to do. Xia Xingchen's mental power is like the ocean, unfathomable. What a terrifying boy. It's only been a short time since we last met, and he has grown to such a terrifying level. Maybe he can really do it. The star pirates were all shocked. Their eyes swept from Xia Xingchen and finally fell on Dong Fangsheng, waiting for his answer. Dong Fangsheng sighed deeply, looked at Xia Xingchen and said, Xia Xingchen, you are qualified to know the truth. Something really happened to the king. Something serious happened. Everyone was stunned when they heard this and asked quickly, Master, what happened? And why did you arrest us? Dong Fangsheng smiled bitterly. It was not my decision to arrest you, but the leader's idea. He was the one who got into trouble. Alas, Xia Xingchen made a gesture to let the brothers stop asking questions and let Dong Fangsheng slowly tell the truth. After hearing Dong Fangsheng's story, including Xia Xingchen, everyone's face turned pale. Something really happened. The source can be traced back to the trial of Xia Xingchen and the young geniuses on the Demon Star. That trial was very cruel, and many geniuses died in that trial. This was not Roger's intention, but Wang Qianxing's arrangement. Wang Qianxing arranged the trial on the Demon Star not to select a suitable apprentice for Roger, but his goal was the insect egg sleeping deep in the Demon Star. That insect egg has a great origin. It has been sleeping on the Demon Star for countless years and has controlled the powerful demons. In order to capture the insect egg, several legendary strongmen of the King Star Pirates died before they controlled the insect egg and put it into the freezer of the king. Afterwards, Wang Qianxing stayed at home and stayed with the insect egg, constantly conducting research. His purpose was simple: to study the mystery of the insect egg, use the power of the insect egg to improve himself, break through the 36 layers of the dimensional cube, and rescue his brother Roger. It was also for this purpose that the strong men of the King Star Pirates were willing to capture the insect egg at the cost of their lives. As long as they could save Roger, these Star Pirates who had been with Roger through life and death were willing to give everything, including their lives. However, Wang Qianxing still underestimated the strength of the insect egg. He was affected by the insect egg and kept hearing whispers in his sleep, becoming dazed and moody. He even believed the instigation of the insect egg and inoculated the insect egg on himself in exchange for greater power. As a result, Wang Qianxing was parasitized by the eggs. Although his strength improved by leaps and bounds, his personality became extremely violent, as if he had changed into a different person. A few days ago, Wang Qianxing finally realized that he could not control the eggs and would be enslaved by them sooner or later, so he made an important decision. Wang Qianxing was ready to break into the dimensional cube and desperately break into the 36th floor to save Roger. This was his last resort, a desperate gamble. Master, I still don't understand why Captain 1 ordered us to be arrested. Laura shook her head, puzzled. That was his last conscience. He knew that you would definitely stop him. Because you would never agree to let a monster that could lose control at any time approach Lord Roger. Dan Fangsheng said. Indeed. If we knew the truth about Captain 1, we would definitely not let him approach Master. Everyone nodded. So, he ordered us to control you. It's better to hide the truth from you. When he rescues Lord Roger, or fails, we will naturally release you. Dan Fangsheng said. I see. Everyone realized that arresting them was actually a form of protection. Wonkian Crossing was like a time bomb that could go out of control at any time. Once it went out of control, the first to be hurt would be Roger's apprentice. But I have my own selfish motives. Dan Fangsheng continued. Lord Roger, we all respect him. Captain 1 is also a good man. Captain 1 went there this time with the determination to die. We want to save Lord Roger, and we also want to save Captain 1. However, we are not strong enough. We are not the captain's opponent. We are waiting for a miracle. We are waiting for Xia Xingchen. Therefore, I asked 1RUI to send out a distress signal, and then cut it off, to attract Xia Xingchen to the king. Ah. I sent out a distress signal, and you actually saw it. 1RUI blushed. 1RUI, you are facing the most powerful mecha designer in the galaxy. Of course, your methods cannot be hidden from him. Xia Xingchen said with a smile. Chapter 1495 I'm enough. After hearing Dan Fangsheng's explanation, Xia Xingchen sighed in his heart. He knew how entangled the star pirates of the King Star Pirates, such as Dan Fangsheng, were in their hearts. On one side was Wonkai Xing, their current leader. On the other side was Roger, the founder, sole figure, and old leader of the King Star Pirates. They all hoped that Roger could escape from the dimensional cube and lead them to be free again, and travel the Sea of Stars. It was for this purpose that they supported Wonkai Xing, and wanted to improve their strength at all costs, even at the cost of their lives. For this purpose, many people in the King Star Pirates died. However, Wonkai Xing took the wrong path and was parasitized by insect eggs, turning into a half-human half-insect monster. Unfortunately, this monster occasionally still had humanity and conscience, and was willing to risk his life to rescue Roger before he completely lost his rationality. In fact, Wonkai Xing was not only going to rescue Roger, but also to rescue himself. Wonkai Xing still had a glimmer of hope in his heart. As long as he could rescue Roger, then Roger will find a way to save himself. Even if Roger can't think of a way, he will kill himself to prevent himself from really turning into a monster and slaughtering his former friends and relatives. Dan Fangsheng and the others also want to stop Wonkai Xing. However, they are not strong enough, and they don't want to cut off Wonkai Xing's last way of life. In the final analysis, no one is wrong. The only mistake is that they are not strong enough. They can only choose this tortuous dark road without hope. Whisper. Insect egg called Dory. I understand. Xia Xingchen nodded, and his mind was clear. The insect eggs parasitizing Wonkai Xing are likely to have the same source as Dory, from the abyss monsters at the bottom of the infinite star abyss, which is a star filled with nothing. Even atoms do not exist. Xia Xingchen has personally experienced the horror of Dory. If it weren't for the source of faith, Xia Xingchen would not be able to get rid of Dory's control and kill him. Although Wonkai Xing is strong, he is at the same star level as Hellas. He can't get rid of the parasitism of the abyss monster with his own strength. In fact, the fact that Wonkai Xing was still able to stay awake and still had a conscience, and ordered Dan Fangsheng to imprison 1RUI and the others, was beyond Xia Xingchen's expectation. This shows that Wonkai Xing's willpower is extremely strong. I understand. Leave this matter to me. I'm enough. I was also planning to break through the 36th floor, rescue the master, and save Captain 1 by the way. Xia Xingchen looked indifferent, but he was telling an extremely shocking story. What? You are going to break through the 36th floor? How is it possible? No matter how strong you are, you can't be so strong. If you can break through the 36th floor, then what is our sacrifice? What is Captain 1's sacrifice? Everyone was stunned, staring at Xia Xingchen with wide eyes. Even 1RUI and Dan Fangsheng thought that Xia Xingchen was too arrogant and boasted without thinking. Xia Xingchen did not answer and released his 3 crystal clones. At the same time, 4 holy beast mechas were taken out from the portable space. Boom. A powerful mental tsunami surged and spread out with Xia Xingchen as the center. Xia Xingchen was just standing there when thunderous sounds rang out around him. Waves of air rolled and spread like ripples in all directions. Several weaker brothers even lost their balance. Galaxy above. My god. What a terrifying mental power. Star level? You have already reached the star level? Everyone was amazed and shocked beyond words. I'm now at the peak of the planetary level. There is still some distance from the star level. Xia Xingchen said honestly. The cultivation speed of the peak of the planetary level is terrifying enough. And this mental pressure is comparable to the peak of the star. Powerful, really too powerful. It is said that this kid has joined the Ascender Alliance. That is a place where monsters abound. But it is rare to have a monster like you. It is probably another adventure. Everyone was talking in a low voice. Xia Xingchen smiled and stood in the middle of the crowd without explaining too much. If they knew that he had become the leader of the Ascender Alliance, I wonder how wonderful their expressions would be. How jealous would Zhang Yan and others be? However, Xia Xingchen did not say anything. His identity in the Ascender Alliance is very special. The elders all thought he was a Kaldori, so they followed him wholeheartedly. Xia Xingchen didn't want to reveal this identity. After all, you can't know a person's heart by knowing his face. Zhang Yan and Laura are brothers and sisters with Xia Xingchen. However, except for one RUI, Xia Xingchen has a shallow relationship with other brothers and sisters. This is not all my strength. I have the confidence to break through the 36th floor and rescue my master. Without further ado, I will leave for the gold and silver star immediately. Xia Xingchen's figure flashed, and he had already entered the Kinglang Mecha. With the teleportation, he arrived outside the starry sky and immediately began to jump and flew towards the direction of the gold and silver star. In just a blink of an eye, Xia Xingchen's figure disappeared. In the king, everyone stared at each other, still in shock. One RUI was the first to shout, "Brother, wait for me. I'm going to." The others then reacted, "Yes. We are going to gold and silver star too. Although we can't help much. But, we are doing our part." The engine of the king started, and the huge hull slowly turned, and jumped towards the direction of gold and silver star. A few hours later, Xia Xingchen drove the Azure Dragon Mech, and arrived at gold and silver star first. The king is a space carrier, so of course it's much faster than a mech. However, the spacecraft is too big, and it takes several hours just to check the equipment. The Azure Dragon Mech can leave at any time, and is much more flexible. It has arrived at the destination before the king set sail. Xia Xingchen arrived outside gold and silver star. The sky above the planet was covered with dark clouds, and was still in a blockade. Normally, if Xia Xingchen arrived at gold and silver star, one of the 3 people, the evil dragon, the phoenix, and the mad god, would come to pick him up immediately. The sky above gold and silver star is covered with thick clouds, which contain surging thunder energy, and the passage is constantly changing. If there is no one to pick him up, it is difficult for ordinary people to pass through the clouds. No one came to pick me up. It seems that something has happened on the gold and silver star. Xia Xingchen did not wait too long. He drove the Kinglang Mecha directly into the clouds. Crack, crack, crack. Thunders raged in the clouds, and the electric dragons raged wildly, constantly bombarding the Kinglang Mecha. The restrictions set by the master are really powerful. Ordinary mechas cannot pass through this thundercloud blockade. However, my Kinglang Mecha happens to be the controller of thunder. Xia Xingchen smiled. These thunders not only could not damage the Kinglang Mecha, but instead charged the thunder core, making the flying wings behind the mecha brighter and brighter, and the speed was also getting faster and faster. Boom. A blue thunder fell from the sky on the golden square in front of the palace, smashing it into a deep pit of tens of meters. The Kinglang Mecha was surrounded by white smoke. It stood up from the bottom of the pit. Xia Xingchen's eyes fell on this familiar palace group. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1496 Wolf Ambitions. Gold and Silver Star. The palace is a continuous, more luxurious than the imperial palace of Xia Star. You can see golden roads and jade walls everywhere. It is beautiful and magnificent, like a fairyland. This is the residence of Roger, the strongest man in the universe. Except for Roger's 3 servants and his 10 disciples, no one else is allowed to set foot on the land of Gold and Silver Star. Even the star pirates of the King Star Pirates are the same. Every time the king arrives, they just put down the supplies and leave. Ordinary crew members and star pirates are not allowed to get off the ship. This is respect for the star pirate King Roger. The entire Gold and Silver Star is quiet, without any sound, and the air is filled with a strong smell of blood. Master. In the Kinglang Mecha, Xia Xingchen looked worried and looked up at the highest palace. Roger lived in that palace. The Kinglang Mecha jumped into the air and flew towards the palace. The white jade steps of the palace were trampled to pieces, the stone pillars with exquisite patterns collapsed, and the walls were damaged. It was obvious that there was a fierce fight not long ago. Xia Xingchen knew that something was wrong, so he quickened his pace and rushed into the palace. Swish. The moment Xia Xingchen entered the palace, a black light attacked. It turned out to be a black javelin. Ding. A starry sky barrier condensed in front of Xia Xingchen, which deflected the black javelin and shot it into the wall, sinking into the handle. Who is it? How could it block my dragon tail gun? A surprised voice sounded, and a black dragon-shaped mecha appeared. The driver was Zilong, one of Roger's 3 servants. Ah. It's Xingchen. Zilong saw clearly that the person who broke into the palace was Xia Xingchen, and quickly put away his weapon. Senior Zilong, you are too nervous. Xia Xingchen saw that the person who attacked him was Zilong, and he knew it was a misunderstanding. However, Zilong has always been calm. Why can't he even recognize the person who came and attacked him? Xia Xingchen's eyes fell on Zilong, and he was shocked to find that one of his sleeves was empty, and his entire right arm was gone. Senior Zilong, your arm. Xia Xingchen was shocked. Nowadays, human medical technology is very advanced, and broken limbs can be regenerated. The arm of the evil dragon was obviously just broken, and it was still wrapped with bandages and blood. Who cut off the evil dragon's arm? You know, this is the Golden and Silver Star. How dare someone act wild under Roger's nose? The next moment, Xia Xingchen blurted out, "Wang Qiangxing." The evil dragon looked up and looked at Xia Xingchen in surprise. You know everything? My arm was indeed cut off by Wang Qiangxing. I'm still okay, but the phoenix's body was cut in half from the waist. Kuang Shen is even worse. Senior Kuang Shen. What happened to him? Xia Xingchen's face changed drastically, and he looked nervous. Among Roger's 3 servants, Xia Xingchen has the best relationship with Kuang Shen. Xia Xingchen was personally selected by Kuang Shen. If it weren't for Kuang Shen, Xia Xingchen would never have become Roger's apprentice. Moreover, Kuang Shen has a generous personality and a strong sense of justice. Xia Xingchen never regarded Kuang Shen as a servant of the master, but as an elder, both a teacher and a friend. Hearing that the mad god was in trouble, Xia Xingchen's eyes turned red. The mad god's brain was severely damaged. He is still unconscious and sleeping in the emergency room. But don't worry, he is not in danger for the time being. Phoenix is taking care of him. Alas, I'm the only useless person left in the entire Jinine Star. But it's good that you are here. Zilong sighed. Did Wang Qiangxing really hurt you? Xia Xingchen was relieved and asked. If it's not him, who else could it be? Zilong was furious and gritted his teeth and said, I never thought that Wang Qiangxing would be such a heartless thing. Senior Zilong, please calm down and talk slowly. What you said doesn't match the information I got. Xia Xingchen comforted Zilong's emotions and felt strange in his heart. According to Dan Fangsheng, although Wang Qiangxing was parasitized by insect eggs, he still had a conscience. His purpose of coming to Jinine Star was to break through the 36 level dimensional magic cube and save Roger. However, Wang Qiangxing injured Roger's 3 servants. What is going on? Did Wang Qiangxing say that he was going to save his master? Zilong laughed coldly. Yes. Xia Xingchen nodded. Bullshit. Wang Qiangxing said the same to us at the beginning. We were also deceived by him. Later, he showed his true colors. His purpose was not to save the master at all, but to kill the master and snatch the dimension cube. Because the dimension cube has recognized the master, and Wan Qianxing cannot succeed without killing the master. The evil dragon was furious. After the three of us found out, we naturally had to stop him. But he was too strong. He injured the three of us, and broke into the dimension cube, and now he has reached the 20th floor. Wan Qianxing wants to snatch the dimension cube. Xia Xingchen was shocked, with anger boiling in his eyes. He actually wants to kill the master. Isn't he and the master sworn brothers? This man has evil ambitions. He disguises himself too well. No matter what happened to him, he wants to kill the master. That's a fact. The evil dragon said anxiously. Xingchen, think of a way quickly. Save the master. That's exactly why I came here. Xia Xingchen nodded. The king and the remaining brothers will arrive at the Gold and Silver Star soon. Senior Zilong, you and seniors Feng Huang and Kuangshan, go to the king's emergency room to treat your injuries first. Leave this to me. You alone. Zilong looked surprised and stared at Xia Xingchen. That's right. I'm alone. Only I can save the master now. Xia Xingchen didn't explain too much and walked into the depths of the palace under the astonished eyes of Zilong. Under the circular arch, there was a brilliant cube slowly rotating, reflecting dazzling brilliance. This was the dimensional cube opened by Wan Qianxing. At this moment, Wan Qianxing was rushing forward in the dimensional cube and had reached the 25th floor. There were only 11 floors left from the 36th floor, where Roger's spirit body was trapped. Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang Mecha and flew directly into the air, breaking into the first floor of this dimensional cube, chasing Wan Qianxing's footsteps. Boom. A deafening thunder sounded. The thick clouds of the gold and silver star split apart, and golden sunlight sprinkled from the sky. In the sunlight, the huge hull of the king swooped down and landed on the surface of the gold and silver star. Zilong brought the unconscious mad god and the phoenix in a wheelchair into the king. The king has the best medical equipment in the Milky Way. After the mad god entered the emergency room, his injuries stabilized. It was only a matter of time before he woke up. On the bridge of the king, Deng Fangsheng, Wan Rui, Zilong and others were all looking at the big screen above their heads, with extremely nervous faces. On the screen, it was the situation in the dimensional cube. Wan Qianxing had already passed the 34th floor, and was heading towards the 35th floor. Chapter 1497 Luog takes action. Dimensional cube, 35th floor. This is a bloody jungle, full of strange blood-sucking plants. Plants are not uncommon in the universe. However, it is very rare for plants to awaken wisdom and live on blood. It can be said that the blood-sucking tree is one of the most evil and terrifying creatures in the universe. Even Roger spent a lot of time to break through the 35th floor. Above the bloody jungle, a mecha wrapped in brown insect shells floated slowly. The original appearance of the mecha has been completely covered by the insect shells, and the glass of the cockpit is also covered with a thick layer of insect shells, so the situation inside cannot be seen. The blood-sucking tree discovered that there was an enemy invasion, and immediately stretched out its long hollow vines, like a javelin, stabbing towards the sky, and instantly wrapped up Wan Qianxing and his mecha tightly. The blood-sucking tree is indeed a terrifying creature. On the surface, the blood-sucking tree looks like a forest, but in fact, the roots are connected together under the ground, and it is actually a living organism. A huge blood-sucking monster. Even Wan Qianxing will find it difficult to pass through this blood-colored jungle. Deng Fangsheng, Zhang Yan, Wan Rui and others looked at the terrifying attack of the blood-sucking tree, and their hair stood on end. The dimensional cube is more difficult than the previous one. The limit of Zhang Yan and Wan Rui is the 31st floor. It can be said that it is harder than ascending to the sky to upgrade to another floor. The 35th floor of the blood-colored jungle. Just looking at it, they feel cold all over, and their scalps are numb. It is too dangerous. However, the more dangerous, the better. I hope Wan Qianxing is trapped in this floor. Everyone whispered. However, the opposite happened. The vines of the blood-sucking tree suddenly broke apart, breaking into hundreds of pieces, and falling from mid-air. On each vine, there are palm-sized black beetles with sharp teeth that bite off the vines. These black beetles Thousands and thousands continuously crawled out of Wang Qianxing's mecha, so dense that just looking at them made people's scalps numb. Has Wang Qianxing been completely parasitized by insects? Is he a human or an insect now? Everyone felt a chill in their spines. Under Wang Qianxing's command, the black beetles fell on the blood-colored jungle like a tide and started a tree worm war with the blood-sucking tree. The vitality of the blood-sucking tree was extremely tenacious. Countless roots were bitten off by the black beetles. Scarlet blood gushed out from the ground, but it was still alive. The vines were waving like sharp whips, trying to fight with Wang Qianxing. But Wang Qianxing had no intention of staying, and took the opportunity to pass through the black dimension door, and entered the 36th floor. It's over. Wang Qianxing has entered the 36th floor. It's all over. Everyone's face was full of despair and their eyes were desperate. Swish. Wang Qianxing entered the 36th floor, and a proud look appeared on his face. The scenery changed, and countless magnificent palaces, pavilions, and towers appeared in the dark void. These palaces looked familiar to Wang Qianxing. How come we are back to the gold and silver star again? Wang Qianxing was shocked, and found that he was standing in front of the square of a palace on the gold and silver star. No, this is not the real gold and silver star. It's in the dimensional cube. However, the 36th floor of the dimensional cube is a gold and silver star. Wang Qianxing suddenly realized. Brother, you are here. An old voice sounded, and a tall old man walked down the steps from the highest palace. His hair and beard were all white. Although he was tall, he was thin and his muscles were atrophied. A layer of wrinkled skin covered his bones. His face was full of vicissitudes, but full of majesty, and his eyes were like the abyss of stars, deep and boundless. Star Pirate King Roger. Brother, this is your true face. Wang Qianxing was shocked. Although he had been mentally prepared, he still didn't expect Roger to be so weak today. In Wang Qianxing's mind, Roger is an unreachable mountain. I've been trapped here for half a century, and I'm old. I'm lucky not to die. Roger sighed. Brother, we finally meet. Why don't you get off the match and let me take a good look at you? Wang Qianxing was silent. After a while, the hatch of the match opened, and Wang Qianxing jumped down. Seeing Wang Qianxing's appearance, Wan Yui and others took a breath of cold air. Wang Qianxing's upper body was naked, and his heart was covered with a layer of brown carapace. There were insect patterns spreading from the heart, along the neck, and occupying half of his head. One of his eyes is a normal human eye. The other eye is a dragonfly-like insect compound eye. Wang Qianxing's appearance is extremely weird, and makes people palpitate. Brother, what are you doing? Roger's voice trembled. Roger, I will call you brother for the last time. From now on, we will be strangers. I will give you a chance. Commit suicide immediately, and hand over the dimension cube to me. The dimension cube is related to my evolution. I will evolve into the most powerful creature in the universe. It is your honor to be my stepping stone. Wang Qianxing did not say much, and immediately returned to the mecha. What did you say? Roger could not believe his ears. I told you to commit suicide. Wang Qianxing said coldly, I will only give you 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, I will do it myself. You are not Wang Qianxing at all. Roger was stunned for a moment, then suddenly looked up with sharp eyes. You are just an alien who robbed his body. Wang Qianxing is dead. Died in your hands. You also occupied his body and did evil. It is really hateful. Ha ha ha. Wang Qianxing suddenly laughed wildly. You humans are stupid. So easy to deceive. I lied to those star pirates, and said I would come to save you. They actually believed this lame excuse. If those star pirates tried their best to stop me, I would never get here. Wang Qianxing has arrived in front of Roger. As long as he kills Roger, he can seize control of the dimensional cube. Therefore, there is no need for him to hide and reveal his true face. Xia Xingchen's guess is correct. The origin of this insect egg, like the Kaldori, comes from the bottom of the infinite star abyss. The two aliens are the same creature, the Thousand Brains. The parasitic ability of the Thousand Brains worm is extremely strong, and even the strong men at the star level are powerless to resist. Wang Qianxing's brain had been eaten long ago, so he had no conscience. He has been deceiving and playing with humans under the identity of Wang Qianxing. In the king, Deng Fangsheng and others were stunned. They only now realized that they were being played around by this worm. Alien. I don't care where you come from. You stole my brother's body. I will definitely not forgive you. I want to avenge Xia Xingchen. Roger looked like an old man in his twilight years, but suddenly, he exuded a powerful aura, and his empty clothes also fluttered. Rumble. The earth trembled, a palace collapsed, and a huge mecha slowly rose from the ground. Old buddy. Roger stepped forward and walked under the mecha, his eyes filled with tears. I didn't expect that there would be a day when I would fight you. Let's avenge Xia Xingchen together. Chapter 1498 The Power of the King. Boom. Star Pirate King Roger entered the towering King Mech. The King Mech was gleaming with dazzling light, and blue electric dragons were entwined around the Mech, like a thunder armor. The palaces and land around Roger were all shattered, turning into huge rocks floating in the air. The strongest man in the human race, how powerful his mental power is. Roger just released his mental power, and the earth couldn't bear the pressure and shattered. Roger and Xia Xingchen drove the Mech, standing on the two largest floating boulders, facing each other from a distance. King, in front of the big screen. Everyone watched Roger and Xia Xingchen, two peerless masters, preparing for a battle, and their palms were sweating, and they were extremely nervous. How many years has it been since Lord Roger made a move? Half a century. He has never made a move since he was trapped on the gold and silver star. Half a century. I wonder if the former strongest man of mankind has become stronger or his strength has declined due to being imprisoned. Everyone was discussing, worried and expectant. It was a rare opportunity to witness the strongest man of mankind. Roger, make a move. Boom. Roger and Xia Xingchen did not confront each other for long. He took the lead and the war broke out. However, the result of just one encounter shocked everyone. Roger's King Mech was shining with golden light all over, like a god. The aura on his body was extremely terrifying, and the speed was so fast that only a flash of light could be seen before he arrived in front of Xia Xingchen. At this moment, the right fist of the King Mech burst into light, like a star exploding, and with a bang, it hit the face of Xia Xingchen's insect nest Mech. Bang! The hive Mech flew backwards. In the cockpit, Xia Xingchen's face was distorted, blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth, and he was seriously injured. Roger's Mech was incredibly fast and extremely powerful. Every punch contained the terrible power to destroy the planet. How is this possible? Xia Xingchen was shocked and couldn't understand why Roger was so strong. Roger looked like he was already in his twilight years and extremely weak. Why did he still have such a terrifying power? Alien, give me your life. I want to avenge my brother Xia Xingchen. Roger's eyes were red and he roared. Roger had few friends in his life, but many enemies. Xia Xingchen was Roger's only sworn brother. In order to save himself, Xia Xingchen was parasitized by the Zerg and turned into a monster. Roger felt extremely guilty. This self-blame turned into grief and anger, and he wanted to tear the parasites that occupied Xia Xingchen into pieces. Boom. 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 Roger kept punching, and the iron fist of light bombarded the hive Mech. For a moment, the hive Mech was covered with scars and shattered. The insect shell on its body shattered, and brown blood flowed out of many places. Facing Roger, Xia Xingchen didn't even have the strength to fight back. Too strong. Is this the strength of the strongest man in the human race? Xia Xingchen was extremely shocked and spit out blood. It was not until now that Xia Xingchen realized that he was too arrogant. He actually underestimated the strongest man in the human race. Xia Xingchen only realized at this time that Roger only looked weak on the surface. Although he had been trapped for half a century, but his perseverance was strong. Not only was he not discouraged, but he continued to practice in the dimensional cube, hoping to escape with his own strength. The strength shown by Roger even surpassed the quasi-celestial being, and he was only one step away from the celestial being. If Roger escaped and left the dimensional cube, he might be promoted to a celestial being in a short time and become the first celestial being in human history. Boom. Countless flying insects emerged from behind the hive Mech, forming huge insect wings and flying out of Roger's attack range. Too powerful. It's so powerful that it completely crushes me. Xia Xingchen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his right hand. While he was amazed, a cold smile appeared on his face. Fortunately, I expected it a long time ago. A blood-colored beetle appeared in Wong Kai-Xing's hand, with a slender mouth but like a needle. Roger, do you know what this is? Wong Kai-Xing asked. What the hell? Roger frowned slightly, feeling uneasy. This is a very fragile little insect. However, it has a special feature, which is that it is good at hiding itself. Its mouthparts are very long, and it can penetrate from the human ear, pierce into the brain, and suck the brain. It's called a brainworm. Wong Kai-Xing had an evil smile on his face. Brainworm? Roger looked disgusted. Are you going to use it to deal with me? I will release a mental pressure, and it will be crushed into dust. Of course. It can't withstand your mental power. But I know very well that I'm facing your spiritual body now. It is going to deal with your physical body. Wong Kai-Xing shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, Roger screamed, holding his head with both hands, with an extremely painful expression. In a secret room underground on the Golden Silver Star, Roger's body was lying in a sarcophagus, with many wires and tubes connected to his body, and an oxygen mask on his face. A small blood-colored beetle was sticking out its slender mouthparts, piercing through Roger's ear, straight into his brain, greedily sucking the brain marrow. The brain marrow of the body was sucked by the worm. Even a peerless strong man like Roger couldn't help but scream in pain. At the same time, the light on Roger's body was fading rapidly, and he turned back into an ordinary thin old man. When the brain marrow worm was sucking Roger's brain marrow, it was also absorbing the mental power in his brain. This is human. Fragile human. Even if you are the strongest of human beings, with strong mental power, you still cannot be completely independent from your body. If your body is damaged, your mental body will also be damaged. If your body dies, even the strongest mental body will immediately dissipate. Roger, although I'm not the opponent of your mental body, but your weak body is not even as good as a small brain worm. Wong Kai-Xing laughed loudly, his face full of ferocious madness. Oh no. It turns out that Wong Kai-Xing's purpose of attacking us is to make us leave the master. He released the brain worm to deal with the master's body. I was too careless. On the king, Zilong's face changed drastically, and he was about to get off the ship to kill the brain worm and save Roger. No need. In the dimensional magic cube, a cyan mecha suddenly appeared. It was Xia Xingchen. He actually broke through the 35th floor and entered the 36th floor to face Wong Kai-Xing. The three words "no need" just now were said by Xia Xingchen to the void. He knew that Zilong could hear his voice. Since I asked you to go to the king to heal your injuries, I have made preparations. Xia Xingchen had a faint smile on his face. If Wong Kai-Xing just wanted to enter the dimensional cube, they only needed to deceive you and didn't need to hurt you at all. So, I guess he has a trick up his sleeve. It turned out to be just a small bug. Swish. In the secret room of Xia, a crystal clone emerged from the darkness, stretched out his hand, and crushed the brainworm to pieces. Xia Xingchen had already made arrangements, and left a clone to protect Roger in secret. Chapter 1499, Crush. Xia Xingchen suddenly appeared on the 36th floor of the dimensional cube, standing beside Roger, facing the thousands of stars. On the king, in front of the big screen, many people were in an uproar, staring at Xia Xingchen's figure, looking unbelievable. He reached the 36th floor so quickly? It turns out that Xia Xingchen is not bragging. He really has the strength to reach the 36th floor. And he left a clone outside the dimensional cube. It is said that he has 3 clones, and one clone occupies a quarter of the mental power. He only used 75% of his mental power to break into the 36th floor. Awesome. So awesome. Everyone talked about it, shocked by the powerful strength shown by Xia Xingchen. As the brainworm died, Roger felt the pain slowly subsided. Master. Xia Xingchen walked forward, entered the cockpit of the king's mecha, and helped Roger up. Xingchen. Roger looked at the apprentice in front of him, surprised and happy. Master, are you okay? Xia Xingchen's omniscience domain unfolded, exploring Roger's brain. Fortunately, the brainworm was crushed to death by Xia Xingchen, just after it sucked the brain. Roger's brain was not injured, and he only needed to rest for a while, before he could recover. Master, leave it to me next. Xia Xingchen turned his head, and stared at Wong Kai-Xing. The wounds on Wong Kai-Xing's body were wriggling and healing. His body, which had just been severely injured by Roger, recovered as usual in the blink of an eye. Many tentacles appeared on his body, floating and absorbing the free spiritual energy in the space. Xia Xingchen. I'm no match for Roger. I can only use dirty tricks to defeat him. But you dare to be arrogant in front of me, aren't you too arrogant? Wang Qianxing smiled coldly, his eyes full of disdain. I know what you are. I know where you come from. And I'm not afraid to tell you that I killed your kind. Xia Xingchen said lightly. What? Wang Qianxing's face changed drastically. Human. You are lying. I have no kindred spirits. I'm unique. I have nothing to say to Carneo Worm. Xia Xingchen interrupted Wang Qianxing. Boom. No nonsense. The next moment, the battle between the two broke out. Gas explosions appeared behind the two mechas, like thunder bursting, like two meteorites suddenly colliding with each other. Boom. The violent shockwave spread out. It was simply the collapse of the sky and the earth. The already fragmented land of the gold and silver star became even more fragmented, and many land masses were burning. This blow was enough to shatter the continent and destroy the planet. The battle between Xia Xingchen and Wang Qianxing was so intense that the figures of the two mechas could not be seen clearly, only the strong flashes that continued to burst out. The energy beams gathered into large and small crosses, as if the gods had sent down the doomsday catastrophe to judge the world. After the long-distance energy competition, the light and smoke dissipated, and the figures of the two mechas appeared, holding cold weapons, slashing and stabbing each other. Cold weapon battles look plain and simple, but there is only one thing, that is, fast. Astonishingly fast. The two mechas are like lightning, constantly fighting, separating, and fighting again in the air. In the fierce collision, dazzling flashes continue to appear, and energy leaks out wildly, impacting the space wall of the dimensional magic cube, causing it to tremble continuously. It can be seen how terrifying the energy released by the two is. Whoosh. The two mechas separated. This time, the two did not fight immediately, but their chests rose and fell, and they gasped violently. The fierce battle just now was just to find out each other's details. Next, it was a real full-scale confrontation. This kid is so powerful. Wang Qianxing was shocked. He only realized, now that he had underestimated Xia Xingchen's true strength. The pressure that Xia Xingchen just brought to him was not less than Roger. Squeak. Wang Qianxing's insect nest mecha opened its chest and released tens of thousands of flying insects. These flying insects are very ugly, with sharp teeth, and their forelimbs are like the broadswords of mantises, which are extremely sharp. Xia Xingchen closed his eyes, and two clones appeared in the void, one driving the Suzuki mecha, and the other driving the Zuanwu mecha. He thought about it, took back the clone that was guarding Roger, and drove the Qinglang mecha. His original body drove the White Tiger mecha with the strongest combat power. Xia Xingchen has carefully investigated that Wang Qianxing only left one brainworm next to Roger's body, and there is definitely no second one. Moreover, Xia Xingchen's goal is to kill with one blow and end the battle quickly. He will never give Wang Qianxing the opportunity to hurt Roger again. 4 holy beast mechas gathered together, and the mechas bloomed with blue, silver, gold, and red lights, which contained energy fluctuations, making many people gasp. Driving 4 holy beast mechas to fight at the same time, this kind of combat method is shocking. Xia Xingchen's ability is telekinesis, which is not uncommon. When practiced to the extreme, many people can condense clones. However, Xia Xingchen had 3 clones, not illusory clones, but clones that actually existed and emitted pure light like crystal. This was even more terrifying. Wang Qianxing also felt a strong sense of oppression, and a vague feeling of badness emerged in his heart. Kill. Wang Qianxing couldn't wait to lead the swarm of insects, like a large dark cloud, covering Xia Xingchen. The swarm of insects attacked with great momentum. However, Xia Xingchen didn't even want to look at it. Boom. Xia Xingchen did not hide his strength. The Suzuki mecha rushed forward and released the fiery sun strike. With high energy bursting out, the Suzuki mecha turned into a rising sun, and endless light and heat spread out. Gap, gap, gap. The swarm of insects suddenly burned up, making a shrill and sharp cry. Countless insects were burned and turned into a rain of fire, falling from the sky. Before they touched the ground, they were burned into ashes and rifted in the air. swallowing thousands of miles like a tiger. The front of the Suzuki Mecha cleared the field, and Xia Xingchen drove the white tiger Mecha in the back, and used his own killer move. But the space trembled, and hundreds of metal tigers condensed, each more ferocious than the other, with golden light flashing on their bodies, and boundless murderous aura permeating their bodies. Ah! How can Big Brother condense metal attacks? Rui was shocked when he saw these metal tigers. He thought that his ability was unique, and could condense thousands of flying swords to kill the enemy. Unexpectedly, Xia Xingchen could do it. However, Xia Xingchen condensed not flying swords, but metal tigers. The murderous intent of these metal tigers is sharper than flying swords. Boom. Xia Xingchen pointed, and the group of metal tigers pounds towards the Zergnest Mecha. Bang, bang, bang. One after another, huge explosions sounded, flames shot up into the sky, and smoke filled the air, as if the end of the world had come. Xia was surprised, and his whole body was blasted with holes. Relying on the strong vitality of the Zerg, he was struggling to support. Why? Why are Master Roger and his disciples so abnormal? Why are they so strong? Xia couldn't figure it out. All other humans were inferior to him in terms of IQ and strength. Except for Roger and Xia Xingchen. He was no match for Master Roger. He was not even a match for his disciple Xia Xingchen. Chapter 1500. I have no regrets in my life. Facing Xia Xingchen's strength, Xia was suddenly unsure. Escape. Or thought surged into Xia mind. I didn't expect Xia Xingchen to be so powerful. He said he had killed my kind. Maybe it's true. Could it be that I will be killed by him too? No, I'm a higher creature that is superior to humans. How can I be killed by humble humans? As long as I can escape, I can find a planet to hibernate, recuperate, and wait to recover my strength. Xia Xingchen and Roger, they can't be my opponents. Xiaxing's body is 1,000 brain worm like the Kaldoroi. The survival instinct of the Zerg is stronger than any other race. In the face of danger, humans may fight for their ideals and beliefs, but the Zerg will not. The low-level Zerg without IQ have no idea what death is. However, the high-level Zerg attach great importance to death. When encountering danger, the survival instinct is manifested. The Zergness Mech quickly shrank and turned into a brown ball with a diameter of 1 meter, flying at high speed, ready to escape from the dimensional cube. Trapped? Xia Xingchen certainly would not give Xiaxing a chance to escape. With a low shout, a silvery metal cage condensed and trapped the brown ball inside. At the same time, the 4 holy beast Mechas used the dragon teeth joint attack. 4 color drills condensed in midair, and the surging energy rushed towards Xiaxing. Xiaxing had never seen such a terrifying attack. Boom. 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 Xiaxing's ears were filled with the sound of energy explosions. He felt that the universe had collapsed. The violent energy was raging wildly, destroying all the functions of his body. Xia Xingchen was obviously just a planetary level mecha master. Why did he master such a terrifying power? Xiaxing simply couldn't figure it out. Unlike Kaldoroi, he knew very little about humans, and most of it was obtained from Xiaxing's brain. In his memory, Xia Xingchen was very weak, and not worth mentioning. This 1,000 brain worm underestimated the potential of humans and the growth rate of Xia Xingchen. Boom. The hive mech finally couldn't hold out and exploded. White smoke billowed from its entire body. In the cockpit, Xiaxing's body was also burned to charcoal. The life detector on the mech could no longer detect any signs of life. However, Xia Xingchen's omniscience enveloped it, and found that the 1,000 brain worm in Xiaxing's body was not dead. Its vitality was too strong and there was still a glimmer of life. Master. Xiaxing only had 1 breath left, so there was no need to worry. Xia Xingchen did not continue to attack, but walked towards Roger. Xingchen, the battle just now really surprised me. Roger witnessed the battle between Xia Xingchen and Xiaxing up close, and felt the powerful energy and mental strength that erupted from Xia Xingchen, and he felt it more than everyone on the king. But behind Roger, a grey portal opened. Xia Xingchen asked, Master, is this the dimensional door leading to the 37th floor? If I enter this door, will you be able to escape and regain your freedom? Roger did not answer. After a moment of silence, he nodded gently, with a dark look in his eyes. Master, I'll go then. After I rescue you and let you regain your freedom, we can slowly reminisce about the past. Xia Xingchen smiled and walked towards the dimensional door. No. Roger's skinny hand suddenly grabbed Xia Xingchen's wrist and pulled him back. Master, what are you doing? Xia Xingchen felt Roger's hand trembling slightly. What could make the strongest man in the world so excited? Xingchen, I just made a decision. An important decision. You go back. Leave the dimensional cube. I will continue to stay here. Roger said in a deep voice. Master, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? Xia Xingchen's body shook, and he was even more confused. Xia Xingchen worked hard to get to the 36th floor, just for Roger to get out. Now, only one step away from escaping the predicament. Why did Roger give up again? Xia Xingchen couldn't figure it out at all. In the King, Zhang Yan, Wan Yui and other disciples were also puzzled and couldn't understand what Roger was going to do. Xingchen, listen to me. It's the master who is sorry for you. Roger sighed. Xingchen and other disciples, I want to tell you the truth. Well, master, if you have any unspeakable secrets, we disciples will listen. Xia Xingchen said hurriedly. Roger, the Star Pirate King, an interstellar wanderer, a person with a cold nature. I have always been playing in the Star Sea, wandering around, and taking emotional matters lightly. I accepted you as my disciples, not because I like to accept disciples. In fact, the 10 of you are the only 10 disciples in my life. I'm not a competent master, and I did not teach you carefully. Instead, I'm using you. Roger looked bitter and told his life story. Master, since we have accepted you as our master, once a master, a father for life, we are willing to help you. So how can we use you or not? I think so, and the other brothers think so too. Xia Xingchen said. Xingchen, you say that, and I feel even more guilty. Roger shook his head. I didn't tell you the truth. The truth about me being trapped in this dimensional cube. You can indeed let me out and restore my freedom by passing through the dimensional door. However, there is a serious price. That is, you will be locked up in the next layer of the dimensional cube instead of me. What? Hearing Roger's explanation, Xia Xingchen was shocked. The faces of the other brothers also changed immediately. Roger really never mentioned this. Xingchen, I accepted you as my apprentices, but actually I have a lot of selfish motives. No, it's not selfishness, but evil intentions. I want you to take over from me and become prisoners of the dimensional Rubik's Cube. Roger's eyes were filled with tears. I'm not worthy of being your master. I'm a despicable villain. The king fell into a deathly silence. In everyone's mind, Roger is a godlike existence, a flawless strong man. However, when Roger personally spoke of his dishonorable plan, the image of Roger in many people's hearts collapsed. Xingchen, I was originally going to harm you and let you be trapped instead of me. But in the end, I gave up. Because I found my own successor. Xingchen, that's you. I see the shadow of my youth in you. No, you are stronger than me, and you are better than me. You will definitely become the savior of mankind. Therefore, I choose to stay. Stay in the dimensional Rubik's Cube until I die. This is the way I, a despicable person, should die. Roger looked at Xia Xingchen with trust, and the corners of his mouth raised to reveal a relieved smile. Looking at Xia Xingchen, Roger felt that his life was complete. When he was young, Roger traveled through the starry sea and did the craziest things. In his middle age, Roger's name was famous in the starry sea. He was the strongest man in the world and an idol worshipped by countless people. In his old age, Roger found his successor and could pass on his ideas to future generations. I have no regrets in my life. Roger sighed again, with a strange light flashing in his eyes. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.